Welcome, one and all, to SkepTalk. I almost forgot how to do this job because it's been so long since I was here. How is everybody today? I'm Forrest, and I'm joined today by the delightful, the charming, the handsome, the erudite, the kind, the compassionate, and the stalwart, Jovan Bradley. How are you doing, my friend?
Almost all of those. I am 100% not kind.
I wanted to really just like layer it on thick just right at the beginning.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm over here like, damn, buy me dinner first, Forrest. Shit.
I was just talking to you behind the camera, and I'm going to say, or behind the show, but backstage, whatever the fuck. And I'm going to say the same thing to you now, live in front of everybody. I've been watching you for some time, and I've been loving every minute of it. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad to be hosting.
I'm glad to be here. I'm excited. I want to hear some evidence.
Evidence is fun. I've been watching you talk mainly to MAGA and transphobes, and that just delights me. I actually haven't seen that much of your atheist content. I have only seen you talk to cultists and science deniers, and I'm like, all right, yeah, this guy and I would be friends.
When I do atheist stuff, it is primarily attacking Christianity. Like, that's my usual. I have just a burning, deep hatred for Christianity. So typically I'm like laser focused, but then it always turns into, well, here's the reason why God can't exist.
We also we live here in America as well. So like Christianity is kind of a problem. It's pretty persistent. I don't know whereabouts you're based, but I live in Oklahoma, and it's a nightmare. There's double-digit churches within walking distance of everywhere. Oh yes, yeah, so I'm
over here,
just as bad,
hanging in Florida.
You don't have to, but I appreciate the hustle, and I admire your persistence. Two things. Number one, I can't wait for a theist channel to clip you saying I have a hatred for Christianity, and they're like, "That's the reason." Because I gotta tell you, the only thing more fun than doing this show is looking for clips of this show from other channels. I found one where it was, I believe it was Jesse Jerdak and I were hosting a show together. And every single profanity that we dropped, every single sex joke we made, anytime any of us said anything that was above PG-13, there's this channel just screen recorded it and then screen recorded themselves reporting the video. They just said fuck again. I just said something about his penis.
allowed to say that stuff on YouTube. Right?
You're not on God's internet. You're not. But
I hope one of them clips me saying that. I really do, because I'm like, don't y'all know, like, the reason I hate Christianity is because I've like researched it and been like, I wasn't out the womb going bang 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 bang.
I didn't slither out the puss craw hating Jesus. No, it's honestly
the puss is diabolical.
It makes remind me later. We have things to tell you about, not pusses in general, but that word. We've got it does make sense though, because like especially here in the U.S., you're exposed to it more. You know what I mean? If I was living in the Middle East, I would probably have a lot more shit to say about Islam. But at the end of the day, like, this is the garbage that gets thrown at me morning, noon, and night. And this is the reason why people tell me all the time that I deserve to be tortured forever. And this is the reason why people tell me that my family is not legitimate and all sorts of other things. Like, at the end of the day, this is the problem that I have. And so it's the thing that I'm going to talk about.
They're going to instead say that the devil has influenced you. And then I'm going to say, yes, because hell is more fun than heaven.
I mean, all the coolest people are going there. All the coolest people. If goddamn Joel Osteen is in heaven, I don't want to be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Now, Joel Osteen can throw a party, though.
Can he?
Like, say what you will about the guy.
No, I mean, he
throws a party. I mean, with all that money, he better.
That's what I'm saying. He's got.
There better be hors d'oeuvres.
You can take his private jet to his mansion, and have all sorts of things. I bet there's pinwheels. I bet there's corn. But I don't know because I'm not hanging with the dude.
But not
just
good
not cool
corn. Like the corn's not seasoned. He just puts a little country crock on the top of it, and that's it.
It's like the frozen, dehydrated, rehydrated shit you get out of a banquet meal. It's a bad time. Nobody wants it, but it's there in plenty.
Oh, because banquet meal corn is the worst. It might be that might actually be the worst food in the grocery stores. Banquet, like TV dinner corn.
I tell you what, I grew up on banquet. I grew up super poor, and banquet meals were a staple because they were $1, and they are still a guilty pleasure to this day. If I'm ever like up super late and I'm just sad and tired and grumpy.
Back when I was homeless, them 99-cent chicken nugget meals
Yeah, girl.
Yeah. Those things got me through. Those things in Chef Boyardee, which I don't eat anymore because I've met one of the co-owners of Chef Boyardee has literally debated me about capitalism and socialism. It's actually really weird, but those in Chef Boyardee kept me going when I was homeless. I was like, this 99 cents, you get like 5 chicken nuggets, not curly fries. What are they? The crinkle cut fries.
The crinkly fries. Yeah.
Yep, that was the way to go.
Cuisine shit up in here. Just fuck you, brownie, Chef Boyardee.
The brownie in those meals slaps. You can't eat it for like 5 minutes after you microwave it.
Send your brownies to P.O. Box 1810, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma 74013. Thank you very much. Only Kid Cuisine brownies. Send them to me. I just take them out of the package, out of the thing. We got a great show for everybody tonight. Fuck Chef Boyardee and his gelatinous ass noodles and his terrible capitalist ideology. True. But you know what? The opposite of fuck Chef Boyardee, tune into the line because it's starting now. The show is beginning and it's here for you. If you believe in any gods or demons or angels or spirits or witches or whatever other supernatural things, and you'd like to talk about it, you got 2 people here that want to talk about it. Number on the bottom of the screen there is 720-619-2288. We would love to take your calls and have an honest conversation.
Someone call about ghosts, please.
And
I would love
also,
that one.
If you're a capitalist or a Trump supporter and you want to talk about why you are in a cult and like what's going on with that whole situation, we can talk about that too. And if you're a science denier, if you believe that the earth is flat or that trans people don't exist or that evolution can't be real or that vaccines cause autism or whatever other, thing like these are the chances for you to have honest conversations with people. And you may think that my rhetoric, even right off the bat here, calling these things science deniers and cults is a bit inflammatory and maybe speaks to this not being a good faith conversation. I'm telling you, I'm causing them like TACIS. And we're both pleasant enough people. Jovan is really chill. I'm an idiot. And
I match energy. So if you come up here with some gas, you gonna get the pedal. That's all I'm saying.
That is the pedal. That is exactly how I feel. I try to remind people all the time that, I will be as pleasant as you are when you call into this show. So that's the number on the bottom of the screen, 720-619-2288. We would love to talk to you. We usually take a couple of atheist calls, but most of our calls are going to be from theists today. We already have a couple of theists who have already called in or on the line, as well as looks like one atheist and one who's in the screening room. I have no idea what's going on there, but we'll figure it out. So lines are open. Pick up the phone, 720-619-2288. If you give B a signal, just wait until we hang up on one call into the next one. We'll be here for you. And with that, lines are filling up fast, so if it's all the same for you, amigo mio, I'm down to jump right up in.
Let me drink out of my Evangelion Garfield cup and let's get going.
Show off. Okay, let's start by talking about this one sounds really interesting. We've got Chris, pronouns he, him, calling in from Icelandic dirigible. What a place to call from. Who says atheists misrepresent the nature of God, heaven, and hell. Chris, let's talk about it. You're on the line with Forrest and Jovan. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I think you got the location off a little bit. It's Idaho.
I don't know how I could have possibly known that. I know. It says I don't know what else it could possibly have meant. All right, well, wherever,
right.
if you're calling in from a dirigible or a potato farm, whichever one works for you, tell me.
I can't tell if this is a bit. I genuinely can't tell if this is a bit that Forrest is doing.
Chris, let's start by just trying to figure out what God do you believe in that you're calling about?
I believe in Jesus Christ, the Christian God.
Okay, cool. And
yep.
Do you have a particular denomination that you were affiliated with that you would like to speak to, or like is there a label for your view of Christianity? Because there are over 40,000 flavors of Christianity. So, like, what do you have a particular one that you like, or just general?
Yeah. So I associate with non-denominational. I think there's a lot of. Hold on 1 second here.
Are you okay?
Sorry about the background stuff. Yeah, it's all good.
God stop this call.
Caller, are you driving?
Hey.
I'm not driving. I'm off on the side here. Hold on 1 second.
Very good. So we can't have we can't have you driving a motor vehicle while on the phone with us. It's not safe, and it's a bad issue for us. So
yes. So I don't think the denomination really matters, because I think interpretations around all the little nuances around Christianity don't matter. I think what matters is what we all agree upon, and that's the life, death of Jesus Christ and the resurrection. So we all agree on that.
I definitely don't believe in that.
And it,
yeah,
well, and that
but,
is,
but I get.
Go ahead. Like, I'm not here to
I understand. So that's
saying, yeah.
Right. That's the main vibe of Christianity. Is there, before we get into it, I want to address just a couple things with you really quickly. Is there anything you can do about the noise? Because it sounds like you are standing in the middle of a freeway.
I'm working on that right now. Give me 1 second here.
Okay, window.
I'm sorry about the noise, guys. It's ending right now. So, okay, so basically, yeah, if you want to go ahead and touch on that, were you finishing your thought, Forrest?
No, it's okay. I think that's fine. We can leave that there for the time being, because I want to talk about your actual point. So, when you say atheists misrepresent the nature of God, heaven, and hell, are you speaking to any particular atheists? Like, do you have like do you want to flesh that point out so I can understand where you're coming from? Because there's a chance you're talking about the way that specifically Jovan and I talk about it, or the way somebody else talks about it. Just what do you mean?
Well, I think it's the general attitude toward Christianity. So I think what I see is I see a pattern of, certain thinking and certain ways that, Christianity is skewed, and there's this, I don't think that it's being represented in the way that it actually is in reality.
Are you talking about the way that Christians interpret it, or the way it's written down in their holy text? Because typically what I see is Christians don't actually abide by their actual religious text. They just sort of make up how they believe Christianity should be.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think what he was saying is, like, he was trying to get an idea of, like, the atheists, how, like, overall, like, certain atheists that have a different, bias against Christians, and they're kind of like have a certain attitude toward them. But I'm just saying, like, overall, it's the general attitude. Like, if, for instance, the situation with hell, it's like, your God is going to send me there and torture me forever. And it's like, I feel like that is an example of a misrepresentation of what's actually.
Do you mean
Jesus says that's going to happen?
When you say misrepresentation, it sounds like what you actually mean is just not being framed in an overwhelmingly positive light. Because, like, if you say, if a Christian says, I don't know what you believe specifically, like I said, there's lots of different kinds of Christianity, but, like, when a Christian tells me, you don't believe in God, so you are going to go to hell when you die and be tortured forever. And they frame that as this justice, this divine morality, and they see that as a very positive thing. And then when I say the same thing back to them and say, this fucking asshole is going to hurt me just because I don't like what he says and I don't think he's real. That's what a child would do. I'm saying the exact same thing they're saying it. I'm just adding the way that I'm seeing the same facts. And so it sounds like you're taking issue not with us misrepresenting Christianity. We're saying the same things that the Bible says and the same things that most Christians believe in our country, at least. But we're just not saying them positively. We're speaking to them truthfully from the angle that we're at, from a more objective and, yes, a little bit antagonistic stance. So is that really what your issue is, or do you think that we're honestly missing something about Christianity?
I want to point out too, before you answer, Chris, real quick. I want to just point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get too far away from it, you said that hell isn't this physical place that you're going to go, but yes, it is. The Bible Jesus literally describes it in the Bible as a physical place that you get sent. So I just want to point out that when you say that atheists are misrepresenting, it doesn't really seem to be misrepresenting if we're just saying this is what the text tells you.
Well, I know, but it's the way that he just, Forrest had referred to a Christian talking to him and saying, kind of like an attitude if you don't believe this, or, you're going to go to hell, it's like they're holding a gun to your head. You're either going to choose
your religion. It does hold a gun to people's head. Yes. That's what the religion does.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the misrepresentation of what I'm talking about.
How is that misrepresentation if that is the text?
God is not holding a gun to your head.
Yes, he is.
Okay. So that's default position when you're check this out. The default position when you're born into this world is you have to realize that, and I think it's a lot of people don't realize this, but they minimize their sin. So if you minimize your sin, you're obviously going to feel it's completely okay, for me to get angry. So if you don't acknowledge that aspect of it, then you are going to look at God that way. But if you actually
I'm sorry, Chris, I don't mean to cut you off, but there's so many things you're saying right now that are fundamentally I think you're missing where we're coming from, and that may be where the hang up here is. You're talking about minimizing sin. I don't believe in sin because the concept of sin is going against the will of God, and I don't believe in a God, and I don't like the God on offer. I would never worship the Christian God or follow the Christian God if it was real. So sin means nothing to me. I can still say I want to be a good person and I want to reduce my harm on the world, my negative impacts on the world, and taking that framework to kind of speak to the rhetorical goals of what you're saying, I can agree with that vibe, but I don't think that necessitates then any kind of system of eternal punishment or anything else in the Bible as being a necessary good that comes along with trying to minimize the harm that I produce on the world. If I say, hey, I want to be a good person, I don't then need to say, or else I'll be burned in a lake of fire forever along with all the gay people. That doesn't make any sense. I can just say I would like to be a good person and have that be that.
I kind of feel like the conversation, you just said you don't acknowledge sin, but the only thing is if you look around our world today, you read the news articles about, these horrific things that happen to children and all these other, I don't know how you can't reconcile the fact that innately, inherently, we're evil. And
I don't believe that at all.
I've even had thoughts of
how do you wait?
One that
Chris, can I ask you something?
You know what I mean? I feel like I'm a good person for the most part, but I want to knock the shit out of some people sometimes.
Chris,
and I have to check myself.
Let me ask you a question. Well, we can get into conscious, having a conscience and how a conscience, but do you think if I am holding a toy and a baby snatches that toy out of my hand, is that baby evil? Did that baby commit a negative moral action?
Well, you're talking about something at that situation, that's kind of I don't know, that's not really related to what I'm talking about.
Yes, it is. If we're inherently evil, then any bad thing a baby does is because the baby is evil. The baby is inherently evil. Do you believe babies to be inherently evil?
I think what's happening there by that action is it's just like it's not to its full extent, but I think as people progress through life, snatching something from somebody becomes, lying, cheating. You understand?
Then it's not inherent. Then you just described a learned behavior. That's what you just did. You said that it's not evil. Like the baby isn't evil by doing this, but as they grow up in life, if they keep doing these things are going to be seen differently. That's because the baby is exhibiting learned behavior. As it grows, it learns to lie. It learns to steal. It learns to do bad things. We're not born with this inherent drive to do bad things. It's socialized.
Well, I know, but why aren't all the actions good? Why is there lying, cheating? Why do we go in that direction?
Well, lying's not always
lots
bad.
Of reasons.
Not always bad.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons, but like everything is contextual.
Circumstances. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Chris, like we can study like sociology and psychology and history and learn why people do bad things. And there's a lot of reasons. Usually it's because of a worldview issue. It's because they're taught some horrible shit. They are taught to believe some horrible shit. They're taught to see other people as less than themselves. They're taught to see their actions as justifiable because of some bigger purpose that they believe in that may or may not be real. There's lots and lots of reasons for those things. All of that speak to humans just being a social species with complex psychology and complex motivations. None of that speaks to the inherent evil of people. It just means that you're born ready to learn about the world around you. And if you're taught to be a piece of shit, you'll be a piece of shit.
Okay. Well, I mean, I kind of feel like we're getting a little bit too off track from what we were kind of discussing, but no, I mean,
sure.
I understand where you're coming from.
Just
I mean,
tell
you
us,
guys
Chris,
are just looking at this from a different point of view than I am.
Can you just tell us, like you say that atheists constantly get the nature of Jesus and the Trinity and all this stuff wrong. What is the nature? What is the nature that we're misconstruing?
Well, kind of going back to the hell situation, like, and I had kind of talked about sin and you kind of know my view on it. But it's like, I believe that the default position is because of that inherent sin in us, we are all basically by default set to go to hell. And the only way to reconcile that is what Jesus Christ did for us, It's like one of the situations in the Bible, in the Old Testament, the angel of death came over the for the Israelites and, took the firstborn. I mean, I know that circumstance, most people would say that's not moral, but that's I just feel like that is a perfect representation of the situation. It's like you're either in with Jesus Christ or you die and you're not. And unfortunately,
so let's just flesh this out.
The other
for just
alternative is not a good one. You know what I mean?
So
go ahead.
So let's just flesh this out for a second. If you do you have children, Chris?
Yeah, I have 2 kids.
Okay. What would your children have to do for you to want to really genuinely seriously hurt them? Not like a little spanking or whatever, because I have problems with them, but like I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like setting them on fucking fire or like cutting off their limbs. Like what would they have to do for you to be like, what needs to happen right now is I need to torture you? What would they have to do for that?
Well, my answer would be there's nothing they could do that wouldn't make me want to hurt.
And yet, for
God,
them,
let alone burn them on fire. Go ahead.
Right. And yet for God, the all-knowing and all-merciful, the answer to that question, what would your children have to do for you to want to set them on fire? The answer is be born. You're born evil, and the best thing that can happen is that you go to hell. And only if you come to me and ask for forgiveness and let me in your heart and all these whatevers, then I will give you the grace of allowing you to live as a slave for the rest of eternity in heaven. How are you going to sit here and tell us that this is the default moral position, when not only do we have no reason to believe any of these things are real, but certainly no reason to think that any of these things are good?
Well, I mean, the way that I would kind of reconcile that in my head would be, obviously acknowledging the fact that, okay, let me turn that situation back around to you. If you have a son who, you're obviously close to initially, he wanders off and starts partying and, just doing all these immoral things and disrespects your name and has nothing to do with you and is in complete, isn't it a little bit easier to be like, hey, we're going to cut ties, like, to estrange yourself from him?
Why did you let your son get there in the first place?
So here's the thing. Just context here. Yes, it would be a lot easier to just say, hey, listen, I don't want anything to do with you. You're a bad kid. You've done bad job at being child. Goodbye. And sure. And if that's what we were talking about, I'd still have a lot of issues, but it'd be a very different conversation than eternal torture and fire. More importantly, however, if I was talking from a position of the divine, God, holy, eternal love, why the fuck couldn't I just forgive anything? Isn't forgiveness a virtue? Isn't jealousy and contempt and holding on to grudges, aren't those sinful and errant behaviors? So wouldn't it be better for God to say, listen, you're my children. You've been led astray. You made a lot of mistakes. You hurt a lot of people. You did a lot of bad things. You didn't pay attention to me. You didn't respect me. But I love you so much that I'm going to let it go for the cost of nothing, because that's what a good parent would do. Why is there an ultimatum of, if you are mean to me and you hurt my feelings, I'm going to hurt you? Jovan, what are you saying?
It's also just like a really weird, like, you're painting God as an absent father. Like, that's the fault of God. If God wants us to believe in him and doesn't want us to go out and sin, why doesn't he come and tell me that? Why doesn't he show up to the entire world and be like, hey guys, don't sin. I hate when you do that. Instead, it's like, well, I'm going to let them sin. And when they do stuff that I don't like, then I'm going to punish them. Like, you can't imagine your dad leaves when you're 2 and then shows back up when you're 17 and is like, I raised you better than this. No, you didn't. You didn't raise shit.
Okay, but I can also throw a parallel and just say, everybody wants their own privacy. Everybody wants to live their own life.
We're already in your parallel. Why do we need another parallel?
That is such a cop-out, Chris. You have to see. Do you want your own privacy, and does your desire for your own privacy supersede the fundamental needs of your children?
Are we saying God wants his privacy, or we want
That's
privacy?
What I thought he was saying.
No. I think the divine hiddenness that you're referring to is actually something a noble deity would do and allow us to make our own decisions.
God used to show himself to everybody and their mother. What do you mean? Now all of a sudden he's shy? He used to be burning bushes. He used to be what?
This is because what you're describing here, what you're trying to use as a shield, is the fundamental issue of the problem of evil. If God is indeed all-knowing and all-powerful, then you have this issue here where he is literally watching all the evil that you referenced earlier to try to say that humans are inherently sinful, evil creatures. He's watching every rape. He's watching every pedophile. He's watching every genocide with folded arms, just saying, "Oh man, well, when you die, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna do something about that someday. Unless you say I'm really cool, and then you get to come to the same theme park as everybody else. But if you don't, then you get to go to the pit of fire with every single gay person who ever donated to charity."
Which, by the way, I want to reiterate, Jesus absolutely says hell is a physical place that God will send people in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that. I do believe. Well,
right.
I mean, I believe
at the start of this call, you told us you did not believe that.
I did. No. I just said there's a misrepresentation of how atheists were portraying hell. I didn't say that it wasn't that physical place. It is a physical place.
Okay, maybe we misheard you.
Spiritual / it's. I think hell is a separate dimension. It's
like the upside down.
Those are words. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, we don't have to go into the specifics, but I believe it's a spiritual / physical dimension that, if you don't align with Jesus Christ, then unfortunately that's the situation. It's like,
why is Jesus vain?
I know where you guys are
why is vanity in his nature?
Vanity?
Yes, vanity. You can do anything you want. You can commit as many sins as you want, but if you end up believing me at the end of the day, you're good to go, baby girl. That's vanity. That's absolutely.
No.
Like if you don't accept me,
if you don't accept me, if you don't call me the king above all kings, then I will torture you. But no matter what kind of person you are, if you suck my dick hard enough, you get into heaven. That is the teaching of Jesus.
Now, hold on.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Dude, it's more than that. Like, one example of divine hiddenness is when Christ was on the boat and he fell asleep, right? And everybody's freaking out. Hey, we're about to die. That, I feel like that was okay. So the way that we see God's character is through Christ. So that was an example of him withdrawing himself from everybody on the boat. And, he's still there. And then they're like, hey, what's going on? So there's certain things, because God is just, he's holy. He's not like us. And I think that's something we tend to do is we think about him in a humanistic way, and he's not human.
Because he acts that way. God is so petty that some people stopped believing in him, so he told the Israelites to genocide them. What if God doesn't want to be compared to us, don't act like us. But I wanted to this might seem like a weird little off thing, but like, have you ever noticed, Forrest, that when you read the Bible, it reads like somebody who's coming up with this shit on the fly? Because I wanted to be reminded of the story of Jesus on the boat with the storm, and reading it is like Jesus left the crowd. They took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. I feel like it's like it reads like somebody who's literally coming up with it. Anyway,
it's exactly what you would expect from a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a bunch of fucking Iron Age folktales. But like, here's the thing, Chris, that what you're talking about here, you're saying God is so above us and not human. Is jealousy a noble attribute that is like a hallmark of like a divine creator?
Well, see, that's the thing, is I think there's like righteous anger. I
asked about jealousy.
Ideal. Well, that's what I'm saying, is like everything that we experience on earth, like the hatred and all these other things, and no, not hatred. That's always bad.
I asked about jealousy
and things like that. Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that can be sometimes maybe a positive thing. And
jealousy. So you're saying
circumstances.
You're saying that jealousy and envy can be positive things that are the hallmark of a perfect creator.
I'm saying that there may be an ideal way that we're not seeing, that it's meant to. I can't really articulate exactly what I'm trying to.
Well, I'm trying to ask you here. But God is perfect, right? God is this infinitely wise, infinitely just, infinitely brilliant, whatever else. And yet he is jealous. God says his name is jealousy. He is so jealous that he is named jealousy. God is wrathful.
But what is he jealous for?
For anybody who worships any other gods. He calls himself so jealous. Not saying like, I fear for their safety or I don't want them to be. He says, this hurts my ego. I am jealous. He is prideful. That is not a hallmark of someone who is well-adjusted and wise. Go on, Jovan.
Chris, you specifically said hatred is always bad, but God hates in the Bible.
He does.
He literally says, I loved Jacob, but who was it? Esau, I hated. He literally says, I hated a person. Esau. So, like, if hatred is always bad, then God is bad.
He also says that he regrets making humans
that could be
a couple of times.
Translated righteous anger. Go ahead.
But that's the thing. God is jealous. God is envious. God is prideful. God is hateful. God is wrathful. God is cruel. God is at no point in this Bible is God ever depicted as anything but human. In his appetites, in his anger, in his emotions, in his inability to control himself. God sets a tree on fire, or no, he doesn't set it on fire, pardon me. He destroys it by withering it with magic because it isn't producing fruit for him out of season when he wants it. God murders millions of babies because
he had a bunch of bears maul some kids because they called the dude bald.
Because they called the guy bald that he liked. He called his, and he, like, at one point, God kills, you even brought up, all the firstborn children of Egypt, just children who had nothing to do with the situation that God was ultimately responsible for anyway. Those children are murdered. And you know what? Those children all ended up in hell because they were Egyptian children worshiping Egyptian gods. So because they were born to the wrong parents, that was their sin. They were born to the wrong family and taught the wrong religion. They were murdered in the night by an angel God sent to destroy them and tossed into the lake of fire for the rest of eternity. All because God wanted to swing his dick around and show his great power to the Pharaoh, who he already forced to keep slaves. Like, I'm sorry. The Bible itself says something very different than what you're trying to tell us. And if you're going to sit here and say with a straight face that there is a good reason for all of us to be tortured and for all of us to be so wrongly judged by a monster whose sins far outweigh our own, I simply can't take you seriously. I think that you're just buying into some bullshit indoctrination and not thinking critically about what you're actually saying. And then you're framing that lack of critical thinking as the accurate interpretation of an Iron Age sex manual.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're completely entitled to that opinion. I'll tell you what, I mean, obviously I need to do a little bit more reading in the Old Testament to kind of see what you're referencing, in these situations to kind of get.
I can tell you right now what I'm referencing. I can tell you right now what I'm referencing. I can tell you about where God actually uses human sacrifice, not just once, but twice, to satisfy his ego. I can tell you where God slaughters children.
Go back, Forrest. Go back to the very beginning of the Old Testament where God literally punishes us for something he lied about. He punishes us for a goddamn lie, bro.
God tells the first lie in the universe and then punishes people for doing something that they did not even know was wrong. When Jovan gave the example of a baby acting like a baby, God not only would say that baby is evil for being a baby, he would punish that baby and their descendants for the rest of time for it. That's literally exactly what he did in the Bible. He took two people who were literally born yesterday and judged them for not knowing good and evil before they had the knowledge of good and evil, and then not only punished them, but punished every single human for the rest of time, especially women. That is some North Korea bullshit, dude. And that's not us misrepresenting it. That is us reading and reporting on the actual text.
I mean, I know what you're talking about with original sin, and I mean, I've kind of tried to think through certain situations on that, but it's like, but still, there, you're still shifting. I mean, the thing is, you said that they were just created. I think they were, I mean, the time that they were alive, I think there was a period of time that they were, but regardless, they understood that if they were to eat the fruit, that they would die. So
they didn't.
You're kind of
no, they didn't.
I mean, you're kind of shifting it off.
The Bible says they didn't.
How so?
They didn't die. Didn't Adam live to be like 300 or something?
Some weird shit like that. The thing is, God tells the first lie in the universe. God says, if you eat from this tree, you will die this very same day. You will die immediately. all the serpent
years,
says,
by the way.
Yes, the serpent says, no, you won't. That's all that happened. The entire lecture, the entire thing that the sermon says, the whole evil trickery of the serpent is he tells the truth. He says, you will not die if you eat this. And then they eat it. And guess what? They don't fucking die. They live for 1,000 years.
All while getting to watch their kids bone.
He was obviously talking about...
And also almost certainly boning their kids because they had 2 sons and then more humans happened. So, like, it's one of the many, 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 many times that incest is glorified in the Bible.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think, you know, you're talking about the physical death, and I think God obviously values and our spiritual and the spiritual nature of everything. So I think that's probably what he was referring to.
Probably, maybe, but it doesn't say it, so it's just your interpretation.
Wait, but even if that is the case, Adam and Eve, like, it's widely believed by Christians that Adam and Eve are in heaven. So they didn't experience a spiritual death either. Right? But the bigger issue here is we keep having this conversation with people who talk about, like, the nature of Jesus and the nature of God and blah, blah, blah. God decided to punish us for a test he set up knowing we would fail. Like, the nature of that is a psychopath. Imagine Saw. Imagine Jigsaw captures you, puts you in a chair, and says, if you press this button, you'll get out. But he knows for a fact there is no way for you to press that button. He made it impossible for you to... that's not a fair test.
It is crazy because, like, that is actually the exact situation we're in, is that God, you're looking at this horrible situation, this insane test where we have to, the test is, can you believe bullshit on bad evidence? And if the answer is yes, then you get to go to a magical land in the world, in the sky for the rest of your life, for the rest of eternity or whatever like that. And if the answer is no, you get tortured forever. And you're looking at this, Chris, as if that's just normal. That's just the way it is, and just believe in Jesus, and then it'll be fine. It is the same thing. I love the analogy of Jigsaw. It's somebody in the Saw movie just being like, well, fuck, man, if you didn't want to die, you should have just got your eyeball out. That's what you're supposed to do. We're all born with a key behind our eyeballs. No, I never watched any of them.
Okay, almost every trap in Saw 2 is unwinnable. The Bible is Saw 2.
The Bible is Saw 2.
Yeah, like every trap.
That's the moral of the story.
The premise of Saw 2 is unwinnable. If God didn't want us to eat the fruit, why did he let the serpent lie? Well, not lie, but why did he let the serpent talk to us to begin with? Just take away the serpent's ability to speak.
You're
why didn't he put the tree in another goddamn garden?
The accountability off to, like,
he's omniscient. He's omniscient. He knew when he put the tree there that the serpent would at some point come up to Adam and Eve and be like, "Hey, yo, eat that shit." If he didn't, and us, I get it. He wants us to have free will, so he won't affect what we do. But he doesn't want the serpent to have. He doesn't give a shit if the serpent has free will. Why not just take away the serpent's ability to speak, and then problem solved, and snakes can keep their legs?
I know, but okay. So it says that God is sovereign and everything happens according to His will. So what you're saying, according to the Bible, was in alignment with what God willed, and
yes, He wants to torture us.
Now that's an interesting statement.
I don't think He wants. I mean, it's kind of a Calvinist type of view, but
sure. No, you don't even have to be deterministic about it. God being do you believe that? Do you believe that, Chris, that everything that happens is according to God's will?
I do.
Is it possible? Is it possible for anything at all to happen which violates or goes against God's will?
Don't do it, Chris. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I mean,
don't do it.
There's
I'm trying to save you here. Don't do it.
God would not. There's things that happen that are not. You know what? I don't know what you're trying to do here.
I'm trying to save you from this one. I see a deer and I see headlights coming, and I'm like, get out of the road, and you're just like, but it's so pretty. Get out of the road, Chris.
Hey, man, if it's what you believe, then I have questions about it. I'm just trying to be honest with it and see if this is what you believe. So I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you a direct question. Is it possible for anything to happen that God doesn't ordain, that it is not part of his divine plan, that goes against his will, even if it's something he may not necessarily like at the beginning? Is it something that he wants because it happened?
If God is sovereign and all-knowing, then I would have to say that everything happens in alignment with his will.
Last question, Chris.
I mean,
is God's will and plan and all that. It's fair to say that his divine plan and his will then they're not the same thing, but the terms can be used sort of synonymously, right? We can agree on that.
Okay. Yep.
So then, last question for you: do you agree that God's divine plan, God's will, is good?
You couldn't hear me, but I was playing down the sinking of the ship.
No, I see it coming. I saw it.
Well, I hate the fact that people would have to spend
hatred's always bad, Chris. Remember, hatred is always bad.
Sorry. Don't you're gonna keep tap dancing around it and try to make it more comfortable. But the question is God's plan good?
Yeah.
I would say yes. That's a pretty good Ariana.
Because I align myself. I'm saying because I align with Christianity and Jesus Christ, I would say yes.
All right. So here we are at the end of the call then, Chris, because here's the framing. And this is not me misrepresenting anything. This is what you have just said is your belief. And this is where we are. You started at the beginning talking about how humans are inherently evil and all these things, and we have to go to hell because there's all these terrible things that happen in the world. At the end of the day, you like the things that happen in the world. All the terrible things, all the rape, all the murder, all the pedophilia, all the genocide, every single bit of it is good because it's part of God's plan. It does not violate God's will. It's exactly what God wants to happen. God is sovereign and ordains every bit of it. He doesn't just allow it to happen. It is happening because he is making it happen, because he wants it to happen, because he is all-powerful and all-knowing. You, Chris, see the genocide of Palestine. You, Chris, see the rape of babies. You, Chris, see the slaughter of innocent people all around the world. And you say, that is what is supposed to happen. Fuck yeah, sign me up for more of that because that's what God wants. And I am a Christian and I'm a part of this plan. And also, every single person who goes to hell, that is a good thing. That is part of God's plan. God isn't sad that they go to hell. God made them knowing who they would be, knowing that they would die in sin, knowing what the sins were that they would commit, and knowing they would go to hell. And he made them anyway because he wanted them to go to hell. Those people being tortured for all eternity is part of his plan. He made those people for the express purpose of torturing them for all eternity. That is their purpose. That is his goal. Every single evil thing that you've called in bitching about and saying that we're not having the right perspective on is a good thing in your worldview because God commanded it and ordained it and allowed it and made it happen. It is part of his will, part of his plan. You haven't a dick to stand on here, sir. I'm sorry. This is not our misinterpretation of your Wooly book. This is your evil-ass ideology that we refuse to be a part of.
Tried to save you, Chris. I really did.
He tried. The man tried. Okay. He was there for you, and he shouldn't have been.
Snake. I was the snake. He was more merciful.
No, you were more merciful than Jesus himself. You were sticking up for the guy.
Forrest, I feel like you're talking about all the bad.
Yes, because the bad is inevitably God's fault. We can sit here and talk about all the beautiful sunsets. I don't give a shit. There's no amount of happy, hopeful, cheering and clapping of hands and all the beautiful flowers and look at the trees and the mountains that justifies or excuses the rape of children. But your God likes that shit
I agree.
and wants it to happen. So here we are. I'm not into it.
We
and
can't,
with that,
we can't do this thing. We can't do like just real quick. I just want to say we can't do this thing where we go. Well, all the good things are good, and then just absolve God of all the bad. Like that's just like you wouldn't do that with anybody. You ain't doing that with Hitler. You ain't saying, look at all the inventions and medicine the Nazis made, but. Doesn't matter that they
he built some highways. He had a social security program, but you're just focused on this whole Holocaust thing. I mean, fuck, man. Chris, it's been 40 minutes and it's been real fucking gross. I think we're about done. Jovan, do you have anything else for Chris before we wrap up?
No.
I mean, the way
Chris,
that
I'll let you have the last word then.
I'm not in agreement with, Forrest.
Okay, what did I say? What did I say that is outside? No, I'm not letting you get away with that. What did I say that did not align with the agreements that you gave that everything God wills is good and nothing happens that goes against God's will? God is in complete control all the time and everything God does is good. You said God is good all the time and all the time God is good. You said God controls every single thing. You agreed with the Bible that he counts the hairs on your head, not a single sparrow falls in the sky, that without him knowing that you agreed with all of these things. And then we just brought up the evil shit that God must then be responsible for. So how is that a bad slant on exactly what you said?
I mean, I just can't agree with what you're saying because I think it's a matter of the framing of how you're coming at me. This is the problem I have with.
Wait, I'll do it. Wait, let me.
What did I say that was incorrect?
Wait.
What did I say that was incorrect?
What's the opposite of an anger translator? I'm going to be that. I'm going to be the opposite of Luther, the anger translator.
Okay, Forrest,
listen.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
Wait, Chris.
We have been on here. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to try and bridge a gap here. Is God responsible for all of the good that happens in the world?
Yes, he's responsible for all the good.
Is he responsible for all the bad?
Well, I mean, I'm saying that there's free will. He doesn't have any control over what people.
All right.
Come on. Grow a spine, man. Say the thing. Chris, I am begging you, don't try to fucking make this more comfortable for yourself. The answer is yes. God, the Bible says that, and you just said that. So just be honest. Is God responsible for all the evil in the world? Yes or no?
Just so you know, Chris, God in the Bible, in the Old Testament, says that he is responsible for all the bad.
And you also said that a minute ago. So both you and the Bible say yes. I'm just trying to we're just trying to get you to say it out loud.
Let's TBD, okay? Let me take a break. Let's not pin this on me.
LMNOP.
Let me take a break. I'll call you guys back. You probably haven't.
Chris,
TBD. To be determined.
Chris, I got to tell you,
go ahead.
Right now, you have been, I want to just seriously, I want to thank you. You've been incredibly honest and you've been a great, guest here. I appreciate you letting two hosts talk so much and answering our questions as best as you could answer them. It's been great. But I got to tell you right now, I'm giving you respect here. I am insulting what you're doing, but I want to say I'm not trying to be an asshole to you. It sounds like what just happened here is you just got backed into a corner where, because of your own admission, you now have to grapple with the fact that your God is ultimately responsible for all of the evil things that you are using to try to justify the evil shit that God does, like hell. And now that is no longer a thing that you can hold on to. Now that God is the arbiter of evil and the executioner as well, and the judge, he makes the evil, he judges the evil, he creates more evil, he judges that evil. Now that you're in this fucking box, it sounds like you're wanting to go fuck off and talk to somebody else about it. And I wish that you could just sit here in this discomfort for a second and just acknowledge the fact that what you just said is
right now.
But we didn't mischaracterize you. Do you agree? We didn't misrepresent you. We didn't frame anything negatively. We just said what you said back to you. We just said the other side of it.
Okay, I mean, I understand where you guys are coming from, but what I need to do is I need to do some research. I need to figure out, a little bit more on the specific sovereignty of God, and I'll come back to you guys. And
what's happening right now?
Like
Wait. I want to point this out. What's happening right now is what happens to a lot of people who are confronted with information that goes against their belief system. Your brain is physically fighting you to try to hold on, because change in our brain is a chemical reaction that physically hurts us. It actually triggers pain receptors in our goddamn brains. And your brain is fighting right now against a belief change, because if it does do a belief change, it's going to feel some pain. I think the wrong thing to do is to go and be like, let me go research this a little more. No, just go sit with it for a little more. Don't open a book. Don't do anything. Sit with what you're feeling right now and grapple with the fact that if everything is according to God's will, God wants bad things to happen.
And what inevitably is going to happen here, Chris, is that like if you go away from this and you think more about this concept of divine hiddenness, what's going to happen is one of two things. Either number one, you're just going to completely ignore everything that happened in this call. You're going to go on believing whatever the fuck you believe, which is a dishonest and shitty thing to do, but it happens a lot of the time with religious beliefs and shit like that. I'm not whatever. The second thing that could potentially happen is that you're just going to adapt your faith, where you're going to say, okay, well, here's this other thought stopper, this other thing. Free will. God doesn't control our free will, and so all the terrible things that happen in the world is us, and God doesn't necessarily like those things or want those things to happen, but he allows them to happen so as not to blah, 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 which puts God back in the exact same box of being, number one, directly responsible for everything, or at least ultimately culpable for everything, and number two, it doesn't get you away from the fact where the parts of the Bible where God violates free will, and clearly it doesn't matter. Number three, it doesn't get you away from the fact that Satan knows God exists very fucking well and still rebels against him. So clearly, free will has nothing to do with knowing whether or not God is real or any of those things. Like, you're not going to be able to grapple with those things. And you're going to call us back, and we're going to talk more about how this fucking sucks. And you're going to be in the same position. We're going to say, well, fuck. Either now I need to ignore that this show existed, or I need to adapt my faith further. And this right here, at the beginning of the call, I asked you what kind of Christian you were. That's why. This is why there are over 40,000 kinds of Christianity. Because every motherfucking time we talk to a Christian on this show that says some heinous shit about sin, about hell, about slavery, about whatever, and we address it and talk about it and do exactly what we did here. We recited your words back to you. We just said the other side of your theology that you didn't like, which is reasonable. It makes sense you wouldn't like it. We get another Christian caller who says, you misrepresented my fucking religion, and you're looking at things differently, and it's actually this way, because they've been in the same spot that you're in, they've done the same dance that you're doing right now, they've been as uncomfortable as you are right now, and they deconstructed a little bit further, and then built that bullshit right back up with new dogma. And man, Chris, like I said, you have been really nice, and I don't want you to fucking do that. I don't want you to fucking just redesign the bullshit to make it more comfortable. I want you to sit with this discomfort and realize that it fucking sucks for a reason. It sucks because you're a good person and you're better than the God you believe in. And now you're fucking dealing with that for a second, man.
Chris, please call Forrest back the next time he's live and have the exact same conversation. Like when you go back and listen to this, and have the exact same arguments, because I just feel like that would be really funny.
I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it if that happens.
I agree with Forrest here. What's happening right now is your brain is deconstructing, and deconstructing religion is hard, especially if you have been a religious person for most of your life. And it's not, I don't think you have to go full non-religion. Right? You can still be spiritual. You can still maybe say, hey, maybe there is a God. I just don't know what he's like. I'm just saying that the Bible, the God that you're holding on to, is a piece of garbage. He is shit. He is a shitty person, not a person, whatever, but he's a shitty being. And quite honestly, to follow him is to believe in shitty things. So I hope you can break that habit. Be the change you want to see in the world, Chris.
Yeah, definitely.
Be the change you want to see in the Bible.
Be the change you want to see in the. Be the God you want to see in the Bible.
Yes, be better than Jesus. Go ahead, Chris. We've been talking for a while. What are you saying?
Well, I mean, but there's really nothing. Yeah. You probably have other callers, but I'm saying like, but if you really look at the teachings of Christ, I mean, can you really point out one thing that was horrible that he taught?
I will tell you. If you want to look at me and say, Jovan, I love the story of the sheep and the goats. Jesus in the sheep and the goats, I think is A1 day one. I'm a literal communist, and Jesus in the sheep and the goats goes, let's do communism, basically. Anything else, I'm just sort of like, okay.
Yeah, the story of like, I think in Acts when it talks about like the first Christians who had like the perfect Christian society for a little while, and it was a communist society. It was everybody shared everything they had. Nobody wanted for anything because everybody freely supported each other. There was no need for like money and possessions and shit. Like, I'm a socialist, not a communist, but like, fuck, man.
I'll get you over to my side.
So we'll talk about it later. We have a call about it on the line waiting. But like that's same thing. Okay. In what part of it? I think it was in Judges. I could be wrong. There's some part of the Bible where it talks about like it's giving more commandments, and God says that like if you have a field of crops, don't harvest some of them. Leave like I think it's like some small. I forgot what measurement they said, but leave some portion of these crops unharvested so that any poor person passing by can take free food. What a fucking awesome story.
It's Leviticus. The Levitical laws. The Levitical.
Yes.
Leviticus, by the way, Chris, where God also says go
we can end on some slaves note here.
Right. And those things are great. Right. Those things are good. But then also Jesus also says own slaves. So like because Jesus never specifically says slavery is good, but yes, so the Bible is a pro-slavery book front to back, and God in the Old Testament, God very clearly says own slaves, and Jesus says later on, not a jot or a tittle of the law changes till all things come to pass. I come not to change the law but to fill it. I am the same God as I have always been, past, present, and future. I never change my mind. He says all that same shit that the God of the Old Testament says as well. So when God in Exodus and Leviticus said, own slaves, here's how to do it, here's how to beat them, here's how to pay for them, here's what you can do with them, all those things. When God said all that shit, Jesus also meant all that shit if you believe in like Trinitarianism and shit like that. But that's a whole other conversation for another time.
Yeah. We could discuss that later, but cool guys. I appreciate your time. Good conversation. And
Forrest, do you want to tell Chris about RFR again before he hangs up?
Oh yeah, Chris. Fucking real talk. There's the thing called recovering from religion. Would we continue if you want to have these conversations in a less intense way as well? I would love to talk to you again though. So like, if you want to call back next time, either I or Jovan are on,
sure, man.
And we'll keep
spitting
at you. We would love to do it.
Okay. Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. Yep. Nice chat, guys.
Take care of yourself, Chris. Be awesome. Okay. Do good things. Right. Be better than Jesus. See you later.
All right, man. All right.
There's two Jesuses. There's Christian Jesus, who I hate, and then there's commie Jesus, who I love. When Jesus says you ain't taking none of this shit with you to heaven, give it all up, I'm like, yes, bro. And then he's like, believe in me and my Father. And I'm like, go back to whatever club you crawled out of.
But there was the moment where it was like the best way to get into heaven, the most surefire way to get into heaven is to sell everything you own, give all the proceeds to the poor. Hell yeah. Let's talk.
When I'm debating MAGA who are like, oh, I'm a Christian, I just pull out the sheep and the goats every time. It's the best Bible verse.
Have you seen I'm gonna look that one up because I don't think I'm familiar with it. But like, have you seen
the sheep and the goats?
I don't know if I can sheep and the goats. You want to tell me about it right now?
Sheep and the goats is where Jesus comes. It's when Jesus comes back, right? When he's getting ready to rapture everybody, basically, where he's like, who's going to heaven, who's going to hell? He splits up all of humankind into sheep and goats. He said, the sheep, you're going to heaven, and the sheep are like, why? And he's like,
is this what you did to the least of me? That one.
Yes. It's the best. It's the best.
Yes, I know that. Good. I know that verse very well. Yes, I recited that one on one of these shows a couple of weeks ago, and I think on TikTok, isn't it? Jen Hamilton is she's a nurse, and she just went super fucking viral for just reading that passage, and all the MAGA were like, "Fucking that's liberal woke propaganda. You're misinterpreting the Bible."
I dropped a video also doing that with some guy, and that shit got like 200,000 views. MAGA they hate when we're like, "Yo, Jesus wanted to feed the poor." They're like, "No, he didn't. He wasn't talking about taxes."
There was I think there was a couple of news stories a little while ago, a couple of years ago, of like preachers were going to the news saying, "Hey, I am getting such negative feedback every time I talk about Jesus because people are like, this is socialism and this is woke and this is liberals." And it's like, I don't know how to do my job anymore. I'm just trying to tell you what the fucking book says, y'all.
I want to talk to whoever hates communism and socialism. I want to talk to them so bad.
Dude. Okay, we can do that one next because we got Ivan, pronouns he, him, calling in all the way from Germany, who says that I'm wrong about socialism. Now, I've openly stated that I'm a socialist before. I don't think you and I have never hosted together, so let's see. You can talk about communism, I'll talk about socialism, and we'll dig into it a little bit. Ivan, you're on the line with the communist and the socialist. How you doing?
Really good.
Right on. So what specifically is there something specific that I'm wrong about, or are you talking about socialism in general? Like what are you talking about?
Well, actually, I think that you and I would agree on most things. Probably not everything, on most things, but I think you got the labels wrong. And my opinion about that is that it's an American thing. And I want to expand on that if you would allow.
Sure. I expected this to be far more confrontational.
You're saying what? Can you tell us what labels Forrest? Because I want to know if Forrest doesn't know what socialism actually is. That would make my day right now.
That would be very funny. That would be very funny.
But I don't want Forrest to. I don't want Forrest to define it yet. I just want to hear what you tell us, Ivan.
I'll give you two or three examples to show what I'm talking about. So first of all, what I think happened in America and what has started it all is actually that the right wing, the Republicans, made socialism, communism a boogeyman. And now, if you're talking about anything that is not what they would like to do, then it's socialist, it's communist, and it's the devil. That was Bernie Sanders. That was So
McCarthyism's a hell of a drug.
What you guys are doing is the opposite. You're making capitalism the boogeyman. So, I would disagree. Capitalism has. Well, okay, sure. Let's. So I live in Germany. Just quickly, I had 2 visits to the ER. One time, I spent a night at the hospital, and I paid 10 euros for the whole thing. That was just a participation for the ambulance. That was that.
Brag about
it. I took a trip to Thailand and got 12 vaccines before that. Half of it were paid by my doctor, half of it I paid out of pocket, and in 2 weeks got the money back from my insurance. Germany is not a socialist country. So,
I would agree.
So look, I agree with you, but those are socialist policies. Like socialism and capitalism aren't like completely diametrically like different. It's a sliding scale. You can be kind of along this path. So like, for example, here in America is very much a capitalist country, but we still have like municipal roads, municipal water. We have public schools. We have, all these things that are socialist ideals, socialist policies of a tax is going back and benefiting the people. We just don't do it good is the problem.
Okay, I agree with Ivan.
Oh shit. Okay.
I think let you guys keep talking. I'm listening now. I'm so locked in now to listen to this. I'm on Ivan's side right now. We'll see if it changes.
We'll see what it takes us. I mean, what I think is I'm not
Ivan, hold on. Ask him to define it.
I'm not an expert in socialism. I'm thinking Forrest is, so let's see. I'm thinking socialism is actually economic system, like how economy works. Social state, that is a part of the system which governs healthcare, education, stuff like that. And good countries have a strong social state. Germany, Switzerland, Scandinavian countries, but they are still capitalist systems in terms of economy.
Sure. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it is an economic thing. So to answer Jovan's burning question here, the simple definition that I would give for socialism, the simple definition, and then I'm going to follow it with a complex one. The simple one is simply the workers owning the means of production. Is that instead of in a capitalist system where you have the capitalist, the boss, the big guy on top, owns all of the machines, owns all the distribution, owns the trucks, owns the whatever, and then the workers just work there and they have no say in how this business is run, and they can be there or not. In a socialist system, the people who work in this place own the things, and they are able to have some say in the way that the business works together, and the business directly benefits them a lot more than would happen in a capitalist system where the wages are largely stolen from them. Now, that's, like I said, the very simplified explanation. A little bit bigger than that, when we talk about like social policy, we talk about a socialist country or a socialist, a civilization or whatever like that. You then extend that quite a bit more, where like the country is functioning for the people, and the people own everything and work to like make life better for themselves. So like taxes actually benefit us rather than just buying more bombs. We build better schools, we build better libraries, we build better hospitals, we build better roads, we take care of ourselves with our own money. And this is all kind of reflexive on us, instead of being outgoing and only benefiting very wealthy corporations, very wealthy politicians, and hurting people on the other side of the globe. It's also worth noting that in like original like theory, when we talk all the way back to Marx and shit, socialism was just the bridge to capitalism. So, to communism, pardon me. Yes, sorry, I misspoke. Socialism was the bridge to communism. It was just the way to get to the moneyless, classless, stateless society, which is fundamentally anarchistic. Now, I am also, because I'm an anthropologist, I also like anarchism quite a bit. I like the idea of having a social anarchy where every single system must be overwhelmingly justified and be able to justify its existence before it progresses in any way. And I really like the idea that nobody should have to be punished for not like that. Education solves the problem a lot. That's a whole other conversation. The main focus here. Oh, and also one more caveat that's really important. Historically speaking, socialism and communism, there was a little while where they did kind of mean the same general thing, but socialists were elected into office to make these changes, and communism was like tankies overthrowing a government, and socialism was evolutionary and communists were revolutionary. There is also that context on the words. I tend not to use it that way because it fucking conflates a bunch of shit. And final caveat, Ivan, you are also right. Our government does say that when the government does stuff, that's socialism, and when it does more stuff, that's communism. And when that just means that anytime the government does anything good for people, that's a boogeyman. I agree wholeheartedly. But that's my definition of the word. That's the way that I frame it. That's the way I see it. Jovan, how did I do?
So I don't 100% agree with Ivan. I don't 100% agree with you. I'm sort of in the middle here. There's some. Okay, so when we talk about socialism and we talk about social programs are an invention of capitalism to force the workers to pay for themselves, as opposed to having the money that they already earned go back to them. So part of an issue in the framing. Now, I don't use the stateless, moneyless, classless definition as much anymore. I just simply say for communism, I just take a page right out of Frederick Engels. Like literally quote him. It's just the complete abolition of bourgeois private property. In socialism, you also have the complete abolition of bourgeois private property, but you still have a state to maintain worker control while you're trying to get rid of all of the capitalists. So when I just noticed we have the exact same mic, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. I didn't notice until I saw you do the mute thing that I also do. Anyway, when when you have a country like the Nordic model where they have these extensive social programs, you also have these companies who are sitting at the highest on the capitalist the list of capitalist freedom countries. Like these are countries that have the least restrictions in terms of capitalism, right? So you end up butting against each other because it's these two waging ideologies, and as long as it exists, we exist in a state where your labor can be purchased. This is why I'm a communist, not a socialist. As long as you exist in a state where your labor can be purchased, then you exist in a state where capitalism can destroy socialism from the inside out. So yes, I 100% agree with your definition on socialism. It's just the workers owning the means of production. It's an economic system, whereas communism is also a government. Yeah, it's also a way of governance. It's just that there are 0 countries in the Nordic model that are socialist. They are now you can have countries like Cuba, which is I think Cuba is currently Marxist-Leninist, who also nationalize, right? And all of that comes back. But you have to be careful. Like as long as you have any hint of that privatized industry, you can't even be considered socialist.
I agree that is flirting with danger, and I also agree with the fact that like there has yet to be a truly socialist or a truly communist country. That hasn't been. There have been people who call themselves that and do to get away with shit, which is usually state capitalism. And then our government is like, no, they said it's socialist, so it is.
I mean, Cuba was very close from like the 50s to the like 2010s, but they've started to flirt with more capitalist things, and simply if from what I remember reading, it's because the leaders of Cuba are tired of America like fucking with them, so they're just sort of like, what we're gonna start just inching over. But yeah, I whenever anybody asks me, I always point to just indigenous tribes as the model. I mean, that's the model. That's complete abolition of private property, right? If we look at California before colonialization, California is like what is now California. That was the model. There were like 3 tribes all living in the same area. They didn't fight. They were like 300,000 people deep. When one of them needed something, they would let them pass or go through their land. Like they didn't care. If you even remotely tried to remove capitalism from like one of the Nordic countries, they're gonna fight back. They're gonna be pretty mad about that. So I agree with Ivan in that those countries can't be considered socialism. I agree with Forrest in that his definition of socialism was a good functioning definition of socialism.
Sweet chicken. Ivan, what do you think about the things we're saying?
Well, I like the definitions. I like Jovan. Is it Jovan or Jovan?
Jovan.
Jovan. Okay. I like the example you just gave, but I also see from those examples it's hardly realistic because in order to give an example, you need to go 100, 200, a few hundred years back.
So the only reason, Ivan, it's hard to give an example, because I mean, Chile was socialist up until the bombing of the coup d'etat that put in Pinochet. Cuba was largely socialist even under American occupation. China was communist. Like the issue that we run into is every time a socialist country pops up, they have to fight back against capitalist countries. So they're never able. They're like quite literally never able to get off the ground. Like I'm not a tanky, right? I criticize Stalin for a lot of shit. The thing I don't criticize him for is the intense militarization that the USSR had to do, because the USSR was under constant threat. They were under threat from Germany. They were under threat from the United States. They were under threat from Japan. Like they were under constant threat the entirety of their existence. And we've seen this. I mean, a really great book to read on this is Killing Hope by William Blum. The Jakarta Method is a really great book to read on this, where you see that these imperialist nations did a really good job of funding coups and or direct wars with countries that were socialist. I mean, Korea had a democratically elected socialist party, that communist party that was gonna go, and then the United States started a war and killed 2 to 3 million innocent civilians. Like every time. So I believe that is socialism achievable? Yes. Right now, with the United States still being a military-dominated imperialist power, is it feasible? No.
No.
Okay, cool. Those are some things I actually did not know, so this is great. One example I have, because I live in Germany. I come from Croatia, which was in Yugoslavia, a communist country. One thing I do know, one example I do know is the hospital. A friend of mine who was a doctor told me one story about them having a meeting. The workers are the owners, and the cleaning lady was actually having a vote about what kind of surgical equipment they're going to get for the hospital. So those are some in logic, things in socialist systems that don't really work.
Okay,
but it's one example.
So like the cleaning lady was part of the vote on what kind of things we're going to go. The opposite side of that is the kind of extreme capitalism that we have here in the U.S., where the cleaning lady is terrified that she might accidentally spray some of the chemicals on her skin and burn herself and then go bankrupt and die in poverty because she had to go to the hospital she works at. So like, at the end of the day, yeah, maybe you can find some silly thing about like, oh, well, this person shouldn't really get a vote and what kind of blah, blah, blah. But I would so much rather that be the case than have anything even close to the capitalist system that we have here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely understand. And I would actually, in this moment, just as a tourist, I would rather visit North Korea than the United States in this moment. So, but I think what you're saying is not the fault of capitalism; is the fault of just complete greed and lack of morals.
But this is part of the
between the two terms.
Marx theorized that like anytime you have capitalism, it will always lead to cronyism. It will always lead to the people with the money making the decisions, and that's we've seen that. I've not seen an example of that not happening. Right? It is always the case that I mean, just look at the United States right now. We're in a political wealthy oligarchy right now. The people in charge of our country are billionaires and millionaires. It's always going to be the case. Capitalism is what invents greed because it has to. The point of capitalism is to maximize profits. The only way you're maximizing profits and that you can continue to see profit growth is to end up becoming greedy.
Yeah, if you look at actual examples, so if you look at actual examples, you have like more countries than like US is one country. You have more countries that theoretically could have the same shit as the US does, but don't, because they self-regulate. They just, people have consciousness and there are laws and it works.
Sure, but we have.
I don't understand the.
We have a shitload of corruption here in the United States. Is the problem? Here in the United States, you can buy bills, you can buy elections here in the United States, and so I hear the thing that I have an issue with, and here's the way that I'll frame it that I think might resonate with you, Ivan, and I'm excited to hear how Jovan thinks about what I'm saying here. Is that like just to give you like a general overview of the way that I see this dichotomy, is that capitalism is antithetical to the ideals of freedom and democracy, like at its core, not just because it is greedy, but because in a capitalist system, like we talked about earlier, you have one dude on top who owns the company, who owns all the things, and if you don't like it, then you starve in the street. You just get tossed out. You have no control over what's going on. You have shareholders. The shareholders vote on how the company's going. And the more they spend, the more money they spend, the more shares they buy, the more of a vote they get, the more kickback they get from the votes they do, the more revenue they get from the business, all these things. It is not just socially stratified in like a normal level where you have people on top, people on bottom. It is socially stratified to the point of like damn near slavery. And you have stolen wealth all the time, complete dehumanization of people all the time because money is always king. That's capitalism to me. It is the embodiment of the worst parts of humanity as a political and an economic system. Socialism, on the other hand, embodies those ideals of freedom and democracy because everybody participates. Everybody gets one vote. And one voice, one vote. If you don't like the company, you get together, you vote to change it. You own the machines. We all work on this together. We all participate in this together. We all decide what we're making and how it's made and where the profits go and how much come back to us and our families. We all work together for a common goal to make our lives together better. And we wouldn't, in a socialist society, would never vote to lay off a bunch of people to outsource jobs to another country. We would never vote to deregulate environmental protection so we can poison the river right next to our own house. We would never do those things because we're all in this together and we're all treated as equals. So this is the way that I see these things. And I see communism as idealistic as well, as a better goal, because of, as someone with a very anarchistic mentality, again, because that's what anthropology compels me to see the world as. I definitely like that idea of a place where things like money and status aren't really a necessary concern anymore, and where things are freely shared, and where the least among us are more taken care of. I wholeheartedly agree that our nation is only as wealthy as the poorest vagabond, and that our nation is only as strong as the sickest child, and that our nation is only as free as the most tightly locked prison door. I hold heartily to those ideals. But where we're at right now, in the world that we're in right now, I think that just that a socialist system is more functional and more applicable and more possible. And so that's why I lay myself on that section. And that's why I use those terms, so also as not to avoid confusion. That's where I'm at right now. I want to hear what both of you think about that.
I just want to address something you had said, Ivan. You were like, well, there are, America's not the only country. There are countries that are surviving while also helping their working class. But every single capitalist country, from America to Germany to Japan to, people have got to hate me saying this, to China, to India, China less as much. China not less as much in some instances. But every single capitalist country, the only reason that their success is able to be the way it is because capitalism has decimated the global South. The global South has suffered at the hand of resource theft. It's suffered at the hand of labor theft. It's suffered at the hand of wage theft. And the global South continues to suffer. The only reason any of us have cell phones in our hands right now is because of the slavery going on in the Congo. The slavery that is being quite literally funded by every single major capitalist country that has cell phones. Right? If you've bought an iPhone in the last 6 years, you have supported slavery in the Congo. And I'm not saying that to say that you shouldn't buy iPhones, right? Like, people need phones, whatever. I'm just saying that the people don't realize how much capitalism can only thrive by exploitation. And just because that exploitation might not be happening to you or the people in your country or the people that you know or the people in our country, right? Just like, I'm American. I know that I have a lot more privilege when it comes to class stuff than somebody who grows up in Sudan or somebody who grows up in the Congo or somebody who grows up in Cuba. I understand this. So one of the things that we have to reconcile with about capitalism, and there's a reason why the phrase "there is no ethical consumption of under capitalism" is a thing, is because everything is down to the exploitation of the global South, and we need to understand that. So I don't like when people go, not that you said this, but I don't like when people go, well, capitalism is working, look at how we're thriving and all this. I'm like, who's we? Who's right. Me and you?
It's like saying America was really thriving in the 1800s and we were so prosperous. Yeah, because we had fucking slaves. And that's when you dehumanize and degrade people enough, you can make them work really hard and you can make a lot of money off of them. And that is exactly what, and that's to build off what you're saying. You're absolutely right. The fact that we absolutely exploit the shit out of most of the world is why we are so profitable. And it's so fucking infectious that here in America, Ivan, you may not know this because you're not from here, but like, we still have slavery here in America. We have privatized prisons. Our prisons are owned by corporations that file quotas with the states to stay at a certain percent capacity because we use our prisoners for free or cheap labor. And so, like, our government literally signs contracts with corporations saying we will imprison this many of our own citizens and make them work for free so that we can have the products that we then say, look at how great capitalism is and look at all the products that we have. So, like, I just wanted to build off what you're saying, because I 100% agree. It is fundamentally, if you scratch the shiny surface of capitalism, you see that it is gilded shit. It's definitely not worth keeping. Ivan, we've been talking for a while. What do you think about the things we've said?
No, I don't disagree with you, especially with what Jovan said. I don't see it happening. Like I don't see the shift. There's just too many people. I'm not talking about the elites or about politicians. There's just too many people walking around that would not. If you had a socialist or communist system right now, at least 50% of Americans would not sign up for it and would not be up for it. And
I think if you told them, I think if you told Americans what you wanted to do, then they would be down with it. If you said this is a socialist system or a communist system, then they would be against it. Because I think what you said at the beginning of the call is really important. Like, our country has made these into boogeymen. But I think that if the issue is that people are just greedy or whatever like that, I forgot who said it, but like looking at humans living under capitalism and saying that it is their nature to be greedy, it's like looking at humans underwater and saying it's human nature to drown. It just, if we were to teach people better and have a better society, we could grow quite a bit. And I think if we took the labels off of things, people would agree with these things more than they realize. You know what I mean?
Horseshoe theory, bro.
Okay.
Is that what horseshoe theory is?
I
don't know. No idea. I might be wrong. I don't think I've ever looked at horseshoe theory. Go ahead, Ivan.
I still think that's a bit idealistic, but I would be up to it. If you ever come to the position to do it, bring me up.
Yeah. They say that I'm a dreamer.
There's a game called Democracy 4 where you're the president of the United States and you can either enact full communist policies or go full capitalist. And I played it on stream and we went full communist, expecting me to be overthrown. And like our economy, like our country was broke, but like everybody had food and everybody had an education and people loved me. And I stayed in power for like 20 years. They kept reelecting me even after my 2 terms. If that video game tells me anything, it's that communism is the way. Gang, gang.
All right, cool. Well, just I saw in the comments somebody was surprised that I said I would rather visit North Korea than the U.S. It's simple. North Korea has rules. You know them. You put your head down, follow the rules. You're fine. In U.S., all bets are off currently. That's why. So that's the only
I also
reason.
saw people arguing about North Korea in the comments, and North Korea is not communist or socialist. They have their own political system, or their own economic system called Juche, which is like hyper, what's the word for staying to yourself? Isolated. It's like a hyper isolationist policy because, you know, North Korea was bred out of a war that killed 2 to 3 million people. So they're like, we don't want to fuck with any of y'all. But also, so many people have been propagandized by Radio Free Asia specifically in their understanding of North Korea. Like, people think North Koreans don't leave North Korea, but North Korea and China have shared tourism. Like, literally, North Koreans fly to China all the time. Now, is there poverty in North Korea? Yes, North Korea is an isolationist country. They're like, there is still a economic embargo and sanctions on North Korea from a lot of places. Like, yes, there's bad stuff about any place. No system is perfect. But I just think most people don't understand North Korea enough to have the conversation.
For sure. Anyway, Ivan, I appreciate you calling and talking to us. It's been a really fun conversation. And thank you for letting us ramble for so long.
Thank you also. I'm not becoming a socialist yet, but I definitely have a better understanding. Thank you.
I'll get you.
We'll get you. Take care, Ivan. Bye-bye.
I wanted
it's
to
incredibly productive.
Somebody had asked in the comments about how the Congo was involved in iPhones. 70% of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and they mine that cobalt using slave labor. Every single cell phone needs cobalt to run, and Apple is like, well, ours is all recycled. It still came from the Congo. It's the only place it's coming from is they provide 70% of the world's and a big portion of the world's gold comes from the Congo too. So just to answer that question, I gotta pee though. Oh my god.
Yeah, while you're peeing, I'm just gonna really quick shout out Turbine something in the chat there, who says weak political thinkers are socialist. Communism is slavery. The government should leave people alone as much as possible. What an incredibly
call
privileged.
Call it right now. I walked back from the bathroom because my headphones were on.
Lines are closed, but I would love to open a line for this person. Yeah, I just a very privileged position to have. Tell that to somebody who is like needs the government to protect them. Tell that to people who are in marginalized communities who would actually be seriously hurt without specific government protections. Tell that to impoverished people who would be severe. Tell that to fucking me growing up. I grew up on food stamps and shit. I would have gone hungry without government assistance. I didn't want the government to leave me alone. I wanted them to take care of me the way that you should in a society, because any government that allows people, any people living in their country, to go without food, without water, without shelter, without healthcare, and without education is a failing government. That's the way that I see it. If you're going to talk about communism being slavery because everybody is sharing and is free, or socialism being a weak theory because people have the ability to participate in their own economy and make decisions about the future of their country and not starve on the street because they can't afford to go to the doctor, I don't know if you are familiar with how words work. So call in next time either Jovan or I are on. It would be really cool to talk to you. With that, Jovan is currently busting the hottest of all wazzes out in the other room. And so I am just going to jump into the next call. And maybe he'll get back. Maybe he'll fall in. We'll see what happens. I'm stalling a little bit for him, but not much longer. Let's talk to Gabriel or Gabriel. Maybe it's Gabrai. You don't know that it's not because they haven't said what it is yet. For this moment, it's Schrodinger's name, and it could be that. It's not. Gabriel wants to know if their spiritual beliefs are fallacious. Hello, you're on the line with Forrest and only Forrest. How are you doing today? Also, how do you pronounce your name?
Hi, Forrest. My name is Gabriel.
Gabriel, I got it right the first time. Hell yeah.
Yeah. How's it going?
I've never had a bad day.
Hey, there it is. I was trying to get that catchphrase out of
you. So, tell me, what spiritual beliefs do you have?
Yeah, so I was raised in a very Christian environment, and in high school was when I kind of woke up and realized I could think for myself. So since then, I kind of have just rejected organized religion and dogma. However, I feel a strong connection with nature, and like there are things that like I don't understand, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm also a recovering addict. So like the whole higher power thing is, like a big piece of the puzzle. I started listening to you guys a few weeks ago, and I've just been binging ever since. I absolutely love it. And that's kind of when I'm starting to pick up on these concepts, and I'm like, okay, I can see how ridiculous they are when applied to Christianity and such. I'm going to try and reflect that back onto myself. And
sure,
I'm kind of suspecting that I might be doing a God of the Gaps sort of thing. I just wanted to hear your kind of thoughts, if I can give you my spiel.
Sure, yeah.
So I love to kind of say, all right, so here's kind of what I think. Do you know the mantis shrimp, the animal, the mantis shrimp?
Yeah.
So watching the documentary,
is the argument going to be that the mantis shrimp have so many more cone cells so they can see so many different colors that we don't know to exist, and maybe extrapolating from that there's some other dimensions or other things out there that exist that we can't see or perceive or smell or touch or hear, and those things are spirits or at least spiritual creatures and maybe even gods, and that those are the things that hold reality together and or made reality, and that the only reason we don't believe they exist as rational people is because we don't have the equipment to perceive them?
Yeah, you took it a little further than I personally have it, but
yeah, I heard it 1,000 times.
You nailed
I was just
it.
kind of trying to get there.
Yeah.
Just trying to get there. You know?
Yep.
That was so
I figured that's why I'm like, okay, I'm gonna say manta shrimp. But I personally like I'm a little bit closer like on the
few
Buddhist.
Too many times we've been there.
I'm kind of on like the somewhat of a Buddhist where like, you know, I believe in like the like collective consciousness, and I also believe that there's just stuff that we are not designed to be able to sense. Now, I think that you can call it spirit and call it God, whatever. I just kind of call it, you know, the universe, as so many people do. And yeah, but like I hearing the saying you guys say, like, do you want to believe what like feels good, or do you want to believe in what's true? So if my argument, like perspective, is fallacious, I mean, I'd love to hear it so I can, you know, continue to adjust.
Sure.
Is it, you're asking if we think it's fallacious?
Yeah, fallacious, or I mean, just your kind of thoughts on that kind of
and maybe sure. And if I'm misunderstanding it, I mean, I think Forrest explained it really well. If you're just, you know, if you're spiritual because you believe there's some like force in the universe that like binds and pulls us all together in some way, I don't know that I can deny that there's clearly like like maybe not universal, but there's clearly like coincidence. Like there's clearly something going on with something. I wouldn't call it spiritual. I would say our brains are just sort of designed to look for these sort of things. Like they're just built and wired to find commonalities and stuff. So when we notice coincidences, that's where it comes from. If you're going, well, like the universe, like I mean, it's not a religious take that I'm going to like jump down someone's throat. I don't think it's necessarily fallacious, right? I would just say, like, unfortunately, it just seems to be the case that like all of the, like this, like when we're talking spirituality, it comes from like our brains, like that coincidental spirituality, at least.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can't help it. Like, so like I mentioned, the kind of God of the gaps thing, like on, like, aside from spirituality, one of my biggest, just like kind of philosophical beliefs that I hold is like, I will never have all of the answers, like, ever. And that gives me, you know, something to keep striving towards, keep like living. But I don't want to use that as an excuse to, I don't know, wave away things. I don't know.
It sounds like you're using that as an excuse to wave things in. So two things. First of all, deconstruction zone's in the chat. Get the fucking, Justin was just in my fucking chat when I just premiered a video and he's over there. Now he's over here. Get a job. Get out of here, Justin. Second of all,
he's my favorite.
He is great.
Damn, that's crazy to say right in front of Forrest's face.
How dare. It sounds like you're using this. So what you described, saying we don't know everything and we'll never know everything, and that pursues me. That's the foundation of science, right? That's why I became a biologist, because I don't know things, and there's lots of things that I don't know, and I want to go learn more shit. And I don't think that I'm ever going to learn everything. I don't even know if it's possible to learn everything. That's kind of a big question, right? And so that's, for me, I'm not going to hand wave, things away, but I'm also not going to accept things just in case. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. The fundamental thing about scientific thinking that I think you're missing out on here, and the reason why I do think that your beliefs are fallacious, is the concept of falsifiability. Is that if you're sitting here saying that, like, well, there could be this stuff out here that we just can't perceive, okay, then you have no reason to believe in it. Even if it is there, if you don't have a way to perceive it, you have no reason to believe that it's there. When I talk about, like, to keep on the idea of like shrimps and stuff, these different wavelengths of light, well, there's all sorts of wavelengths of light that I can't see. but I can still interact with them and I can still demonstrate that they're there, and I can even translate them into the spectrum of light that I can see. So like if I'm talking about like ultraviolet, if I'm talking about what's that?
How you do that?
How you do that? Computers. Like you talk like, say for example, like infrared cameras, right? You have a camera that can see night vision or whatever. You can see body heat. Body heat is infrared light. It's longer than the spectrum than we are able to use. So you use a specialized camera that is able to pick up that wavelength of light. You pass it through a computer that translates it into the visible spectrum. And then you get those crazy red, blue looking images, which shows where heat is. You know what I mean? That's all that's happening there. And if I look out at distant galaxies and stuff like that, I do the same thing. We take X-ray and we take infrared and we take UV and we take all these different wavelengths of light that are coming out of there, translate them into physical light or invisible light, superimpose them on top of one another, and it works. And even if I couldn't do that, I can feel heat. I can feel that infrared light. Even if I can't do that, I can go out and get a sunburn. I can experience ultraviolet light, right? So like I can still show that these things are around. And there's no reason for me to say, well, maybe there's something past gamma. Maybe there's something past radio. Maybe there's something that's like totally different kinds of light waves that I don't think. And I'm just going to assume there is until I find the mechanism to test it. No, I should find the mechanism, test it. And if it's there, then I believe in it. And I'll give you an example of that, Gabriel, is how can I prove to you right now that you are not living in a simulation? That you're not actually part of a very elaborate computer game that you forgot that you were playing.
Yeah, I've wrestled with that one for a while. I mean, yeah, I don't think there is a full proper way.
There's no way, because even if I could show you proof positive, hey, this proves you're not in a computer game, the next line out of your mouth should be, that's part of the computer game. They coded that in to look that way. And I can't fucking prove you wrong. There's no way. It's an unfalsifiable claim. Same thing with you being a brain in a jar or being in a mental asylum or the idea that the universe just came into existence last Tuesday and all your memories were coded into you from the beginning. And like that you didn't actually have a life. You just popped into existence with everything else, but you just remember this false memory. All of these things are possible. There's no way to disprove any of them. And so the same thing goes with this. There is no way for me to disprove that there is this spiritual dimension that you just can't perceive, because you can't fucking perceive it. So you should withhold belief until you can perceive it.
Yeah. So is that I hear it mentioned the problem of hard solipsism?
Yeah.
Is that what?
That's not the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not the same thing, but that is another one that is, it's an unfalsifiable claim.
Right. Yeah, and I guess I think I've done the whole deconstruction of my Christian faith years ago, and I think I'm kind of just in the process of deconstructing the other, like, you know, stuff, the unfalsifiable stuff, because I don't, like, if it doesn't serve me, if it's not true, I don't want to follow it. So I really appreciate you guys taking my call and humoring me in this.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking the time to ask. I think it's a good thing for you to do. And yeah, I do think your beliefs are still fallacious, but I also know for fucking sure that I went through that same stage. And so did so many other people on this channel. So sit with the weirdness and dig into it and ask yourself hard questions and give yourself some time and call Recovering from Religion if you need any emotional help, and call us back if you have any specific questions. Jovan, looks like you had something to say.
No, I think you guys covered that one.
Right,
my slight thing is just that, like, I think if you're breaking free of Christianity and you're going, but I have reverence for the universe and that's where my spiritualness lies, I think that's fine. I don't see an issue with that as like a thing, as long as the acknowledgement is that it's not that the universe is magical. You're just in reverence of it because of like the beauty or the majesty of Madame Universe.
I have an article coming out in Skeptical Inquirer where we talk about exactly that.
Plugs.
Yeah, and I truly think that that's kind of where I'm kind of aiming, and I just, you know, was kind of tripped up on a few things, but yeah, thank you for putting it that way. That's great.
Most definitely. Can I ask you one more really important question?
Yeah, hit me.
Are you sure that your name isn't pronounced Garbrail? Because I just think that's odd that you wouldn't go with that.
Honestly, after being called Gabe my whole life, you can call me anything besides that.
Gabe sounds like
you don't
rough
like Gabe?
one to deal with.
I love Gabe.
I feel like if anybody if your name was Gabe, people would just like really drag it out. Hey, what are you doing there, Gabe? You know what I mean? Either to say a gay thing or just to like hang on the tone.
Gabe is great as long as your last name isn't Itches.
Yeah, that is. You know what though? That's a solid name. My name is Forrest.
I think that's the only time it's okay.
My name is Forrest, and I've gotten Run Forrest Run my entire fucking life, so I get it. It sucks.
Yep, you get it.
I share a name with a cologne.
Oof.
You share a name with a cologne? Jovan is a cologne.
Yeah.
Well,
Jovan Musk.
I did not know that.
My last name is a hotel chain. So I get that a lot too.
That's some roughness. Well, I wish you good luck, Gabriel. I hope that you call us back sometime if you have any further questions, and I hope to talk to you later.
Thank you so much, folks. Have a good night.
Bye. Somebody in the chat getting muted talking about fucking illegal immigrants and shit. Man, you should have called in. It would have been a really funny call. But instead, we will take this last call, who has been waiting for a very long time. Oh, by the way, before I take this last call, you're going to wait a little longer. I got a text message from Jimmy of the Snow while I was doing the show just now.
Jimmy of the Snow.
And by just now, I mean an hour ago. He texted me, and I'm just now paying attention. That says, we currently have 700 paid patrons on Patreon. If we get to 2,500 paid patrons on Patreon, I'll make Zerba the channel logo. That's what he said. So I'm the messenger, passing that along.
That's an inside joke that I don't get.
I made during the charity stream, I drew the stupidest fucking thing I could possibly imagine drawing, which was this just dumb fucking zebra. And I wrote Zerba on it because it looked so stupid. And I made that, and people loved it. And then Arden, being who she is, turned it into shirts. And so you can buy Zerba merch now. And Zerba is now like this fucking dumb creature that exists on the internet, and it's very funny. And Jimmy Snow is going to make it the channel logo if we get enough patrons. If I get 2,500 patrons on my channel, on my page, I will just have money and be very happy.
Sorry.
I mean, I'm not saying no. I'm not going to say I will show a hole. I'm just not going to say which hole.
I'm still mad at chat for during the charity stream. I came up with the brilliance that is the Circle of Life defense during one of the games we were playing, and I didn't win with the Circle of Life defense, and I genuinely feel cheated.
Did you see the link? Are you on the Discord for the line?
No, Jimmy doesn't like me that much.
Okay, well, then I'm going to send you a thing because there's a moment that's so fucking beautiful. Let me see if I can...
I hope he's listening. I hope he heard that. If not, I'll text him that.
Let me see if I can put this on screen for a second. Can I, if I share my screen in OBS, does it share sound as well as the question?
No. Well, yes.
Well, whoa.
I had to think about it for a second. Yes, it will share sound. Yes.
So I'm trying to figure. I made a clip from the show that charity stream that's fucking just beautiful, and I want to show it. Let me go. Actually, hey, Morgan, if I send you a link to a YouTube video, can you put that on the screen? Is that a possibility?
Not as far as I know.
Fuck. Well, aren't you using OBS's virtual camera?
No.
Yes.
Forrest I am. So just virtual camera.
Okay, hold on a second.
No, we're using
Let me. Right. But I'm saying he's saying my virtual camera. I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to move this over here.
If the stream crashes, chat.
Well, I'm currently moving shit around to cover up people's phone numbers and stuff because I've got call in studio here. And so, okay, no, here's what I'm gonna do.
Is Forrest about to dox all the believers?
Just dox a lot of people. Okay, let me do that. Give me just 2 seconds. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to pull this off, and it's worth the wait if I can get this to do the thing. Okay, I've got that, and now I'm going to close this, and I'm going to switch my virtual camera here. Is this display capture? Go. That's the wrong one. God damn it. Hold on a second. We're going to fucking make it happen, y'all.
I don't know why he's using a display capture and not a window capture, but okay.
Well, because I was fucking up with that earlier, but like this is what this is now. Can you hear this?
Okay. Absolutely not.
Did you? You can't hear it? God damn. Okay, well then fuck. Well, then it's just not going to work today. I saved this beautiful moment. It's this beautiful moment where you and Morticia and Owen are all on screen, and she says, "I'll show one of my feet on camera if you guys vote for my thing." And both you and Owen, I can just show it without sound. The facial reaction is so fucking perfect and so in sync. Hold on. She says, "Don't let me down. I'll show one of my feet on camera." Your eyes, both of your eyes at the same time are so freaking
like for
good.
Free? I guess it wasn't for free, but for free?
That's what I labeled the video as, for free. It's so fucking funny. Oh, God. Best moment of that whole stream, I gotta tell you. Best moment of that stream. Okay, now, last time, we actually have this person waiting. Marina. She, her, calling in all the way from South Africa, has been waiting for almost 2 freaking hours and just had to put up with my dumb shit showing this stupid thing. I'm so sorry. Who wants to ask, how do we find comfort in atheism? Amazing question. Marina, you're on the line with Jovan and Forrest. How you doing today?
Oh, I feel so bad for now taking the spot. I really wanted to hear that, like, Trump supporter.
I wish we could have gotten one.
You know,
oh my God.
So I've been listening to your show for quite a while, like a couple of weeks now, and I would say I am like lingering between being an atheist and still somewhat of a theist, because I find atheism to be quite a scary thought of like no afterlife.
Okay, why? Why is that scary?
Because it doesn't sound comforting, because what will happen? Will we just be like in the void? Because it sounds terrifying to know that. Yes.
The universe existed for 13.8 billion years before you were born. What was it like for all that time?
It wasn't really
before we even get there, can Marina, can you just tell us? I feel like I don't have a really clear understanding of why you feel it's like not as comforting.
What do you exactly mean by that?
Well, like what is it specifically about not believing in any sort of religion that like is a discomforting thought, or like I don't necessarily want to say scary unless that's like how you feel, but like what is it specifically about it that makes you feel that way?
It's less of the fact that there isn't any God. It's more of the fact that, for example, an afterlife isn't really plausible with like the belief of atheism, or like the saying that there isn't any God.
Yeah, but I let me rephrase, because maybe this will make. Why does the lack of afterlife scare you, or it feel like, what is it about that makes you feel that way?
Because I don't want this to end, you know.
Okay, a very human response. Go ahead, Forrest. I just wanted I needed to.
No, you're fine.
If you want to keep going, Marina.
I was fixing something over here anyway, so I appreciated you filling in and also asking good questions.
How do you find like how do you stay happy as an atheist, for example?
Oh, I actually find I'm more comforted by that fact. Like I'm so like knowing that this is the only shot we have. Like the thought of infinite is terrifying to me. The thought of being here forever, being somewhere forever, because at some point, if you're there forever, at some point nothing matters because you'll have done or experienced everything. Right now, it's like how do I do everything? I like what's comforting to me is living for the people around me, living for the experiences that I get to do, not what comes after that. I honestly can't wait for the sweet embrace of death. But for right now, like, you know, I don't know. What do you think, Forrest? I just feel like infinity is terrifying.
Yeah. So for me, it's the idea. You hit the nail on the head right away when you said the fact that we only get one shot at this is kind of cool. Like I enjoy every moment. When I say things like I've never had a bad day, I've had fucking soul crushing days. I've had days where I couldn't get off the floor. I've had days where I was weeping. I've had days where I was devastated. But fuck, I was alive. And I got to experience that. And I'm not saying I was like happy about being sad. That's a weird toxic positivity thing. But like the fact that this life is so diverse and isn't just one note all the time. The fact that I have such a good life that I was able to recognize that sadness and experience that sadness as contrasted to my day-to-day comfort. Like that's a wonderful thing. And I want to be here for all of it. I want the joy and the pain. I want the pride and the shame. I want all of it. I want to feel all of it because this is my one chance to do it. And when I go away, there's nothing left and my consciousness disappears and it means nothing in the end. I don't believe in an inherent meaning. I don't believe in any inherent eternal, purpose for anything like that. So I just fucking die and that's it. And it means nothing and nothing means anything and everything's just it. It's over. And so I have this beautiful moment to kind of like celebrate and tap dance and be weird and have fun and make mistakes. And I can get real spiritual with it and talk about like my place in evolution or the fact that, I'm made of stardust and that at the end of the day, me as a scientist, I am just an extension of the universe observing itself and all these beautiful flowery things. But at the end of the day, you don't need any of that. All you need to know is that you're alive. And that's damn skippy. There's a lot of people who don't get that opportunity. There's a lot of people who wish they could be as alive as you, only they don't wish anything because they're fucking dead. And so for this time that I have, I'm going to try to use my little bit of time as nice for as many people as possible. I'm going to use my little bit of time to make everybody else's little bit of time just a little bit better. I'm going to enjoy everything that I can. The bad, horrible, painful things are going to make me who I am. They're going to shape me as a person. I find often that the worst, most painful parts of our lives are the things that we can use then to help the most people. And I'm going to try to take advantage of that opportunity and help more people and be just as cool of a dude as I can be. And I'm going to fuck it up and I'm going to make a lot of mistakes and I'm going to hurt people sometimes and I'm going to do better tomorrow. And that growing experience is part of the ride, yo. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it pleasant. You don't get on a roller coaster expecting it to be comfortable. You get on there and have the most fun you can until it ends, and it will end. But if I have a big fucking platter of cookies, I'm not going to waste my time lamenting the fact that I will soon run out of cookies. I'm going to enjoy the fucking cookies. And the cookies taste better when you share them with people you love, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to share the cookies I have with everyone. You know what I mean? That's how I see it, and that's how I stay happy, and that's how I enjoy my life, is that just, this is the one chance I got, and I'm not going to miss a second of it. And I hope you don't either.
Thank you. That's really all I had in mind. I was expecting it to be this, clean cut.
That's the best part about life. It's not clean cut.
True. But before I go, I just want to say I love you guys very much. I love the line. And yeah, communism rules.
We love you too. And call back in if you have any more questions. Thank you for waiting for like 2 fucking hours just to hear us ramble about stuff.
It's fine. It was a blast. Stay safe.
All right. Have an awesome rest of your day, Marina.
Thank you.
Bye. More important than anything that I just said, Jesse Jerdak's in the chat. How are you? It's good to see you, bud. We saw Jesse Jerdak a little while ago. We were just traveling. We did our VidCon road trip again this year, and I got to pass through Denver and hug my boy. Fucking love that man. We got to have him back on sometime. He's great. I was just looking. I think it's been like 10 months since I hosted with Jesse. Do you know Jesse Jerdak, Jovan Bradley?
Nope. I mean, I know them if I see them. But
do you like positive masculinity?
I'm really bad at. I'm so bad at faces. Just so you know, if you say a name and I can't see the face of the person, I'm gonna be like,
imagine like the most strikingly handsome Adonis of a man with like my body mass in each of his biceps, who just wants to give you a hug and fight for Palestine and trans people. Ooh. That's Jesse Jerdak.
Oh, we love that.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and you should check him out if you like his stuff. If you like good things, you'll like his things too. That is everything we have. We don't have a schedule right now. And Jimmy Snow wanted me to know that if you satisfy his insatiable greed, that he will make the line logo better by making it Zerba. And I think that's everything from me. Jovan, it has been a damn pleasure getting to work with you.
It's been a fun time. I will have to also. I keep telling everybody, Arden has a floating slot on my morning lives. I'll have to give you a if you wanna ever come on, and because unlike the line, I don't screen calls, so they are batshit insane.
Is it on? Do you do it on YouTube as well?
Yep. YouTube and Twitch.
If you ever want to do,
my bread and
you don't go live on TikTok, do you?
Not anymore. I hate censoring myself.
Yeah, TikTok sucks ass. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll talk about it because I don't have a Twitch, but like, and I don't really usually go live on YouTube. But like, if I can join your thing as a guest and not have it through my channel, then it's for political reasons of how I try to frame things on my channel because I'm trying to reach people within a certain box to help them understand evolution. So it's a whole thing. I try not to attack religion too hard specifically there because I want to bring them here for that. You know what I mean? But yeah, we'll figure something out. I would love to work with you again. You've been fun. With that, y'all, that's our show. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's been, oh, fuck me. God damn, I forgot we had super chats. Fuck. This is SkepTalk. Shit ass. No one was going to stop me. No one was going to help. God damn it. All right. Well, super cool. Super cool of all of you. We have $5 from William Mates, 1991. Forrest, seeing all your badges, what's your fave 151 Elite Four lineup? Good question. So first of all, I got to get my boy Diglett. He is my favorite Pokemon. Diglett's the best. Second of all, we're sticking with the ground type, and we're going to bring in Rhydon. Right? Rhydon's fucking awesome. Then we're going to go the opposite, and we're going to bring in water with a Blastoise. I always start with Squirtle, and I always name my Blastoise Abe Lincoln. So Abe Lincoln, the Blastoise, is going to be in the back there. If you need a little bit of psychic energy in there, a little ghost type, whatever like that, Haunter. Because Gengar looks weird, but Haunter is cool. Always bring up Haunter, and I always name him Gene Wilder. And then, what are we on? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I got 2 more spots, right? You're going to need something that flies, and Doduo fucking, for some reason, can fly, and is my second favorite Pokemon. It's madness. So Doduo, all up in here, second favorite Pokemon, and it can fucking fly, and you get that whole thing. Or Zapdos is even better because then you also get the electric business in there. So Zapdos and Doduo would be that, and then you need a closer, and that closer in this instance is probably gonna be a Charizard if I had to choose. But if it's an actual 151 situation and I don't have the option to pick both, then I'm going to go for like some other fire boy, probably Moltres. So then I also get the flying option. That's probably my setup off the top of my head right now. Jovan Bradley, the original 151. What's your Elite Four lineup?
6 level 100 Metapods with Harden and Tackle.
That's how it is. That's how it is.
I'm serious. It's a good. They're not touching you.
I will never turn down the opportunity to get hard in battle. Are you switching back and forth? How are we doing this? Do you want to read them? Do you want me to read them?
I'm enjoying listening to you. The voice is very soothing.
Fuck. No, thank you. I'll actually turn it up for this one. £5, 5 fake British monarchy dollars from J Sika 87. I didn't slither out the puss crying Jesus. Needs to be on your Christmas mug this year. Hashtag Espion sucks, agreed. Hashtag Forrest for president, disagreed. Hashtag love you soon. There you go. I don't know what that last one means, but thank you. 10 colorful ass Canadian dollars from David Haxor. Hi, Mr. Bradley. Hi, Mr. Valkai. Hi.
Mr. Bradley was my father's name. Call me Puss Destroyer.
Puss Destroyer. Give me 3 years. It'll be Dr. Valkai. I'm working on a thing right now.
Dr. Puss Destroyer.
Dr. Puss Destroyer. 5 more Canadian dollars from David Haxor. Hi, Jamnik 06. My man's going to drain his bank account by saying hello to everyone. $10 from Shays7373. Totally different than Shays7474. My GF and I wore our Zerba shirts to work today. They were a hit. More Forrest merch win. I just got better merch, y'all. It's the same designs as before, except for the Tommy Valkai, but they are both higher quality and cheaper. Go to ValkaiMerch.com or ValkaiLabs.com, which has a link to ValkaiMerch.com to learn more. If you go to ValkaiLabs.com, you can also see all the places where I'm touring right now. 5 more colorful money from David Haxor. Can you list all the countries that went full-on fascist that were not overwhelmingly Christian before fascism? The Muslim ones that did the same thing, sure.
Yeah, there's not many.
To the people in chat who are riffing off of Puss Destroyer, stop. And especially to, this is together, these work together.
Poon Goon.
Poon Goon, which is written by someone with the name Suck You Bussy. Go to bed. Go to bed.
Oh, shit.
You're done.
Yo.
$5 from Orgmick1, who has Jamie the Blind Limey's PFP. What's going on with that? Is that Jamie? What's happening? One day I hope I can sit down with both of these Cadillacs of humanity and discuss anarchy. A Cadillac of humanity.
This is why the line needs to also tour. They need to go on tour.
I want to do LineCon, y'all. I want to do a convention where we can all sit down and have LineCon. But yeah, I want to do LineCon, and you can all come be con the line. Also, SawCon. We should do SawCon.
SawCon these nuts.
Exactly. 10 Canadian dollars. From Nakasius. They Nakasius. It does. Forrest said he removed. No, God, fucking. I saw God and said Forrest, and someone's gonna clip that and say that I'm arrogant. Oh, now I'm in trouble. God said he removed Adam and Eve so they would not live forever by eating the fruit of life. Well, yeah. Well, it's something.
Just watching you progressively go through
the man and his fucking consequential fruits. $9.99 from Hannah Hodgkins 9516. Were you born in 1995? Are you 16? What are the numbers? I always say this and stand on this. The excuse that it's God's will is disgusting. I would hate to live according to someone else's will, let alone for this God to create hell so twisted. Absolutely. The idea of
it's so funny that
determinism
they literally and they just break their own shit. Like, how many people do that? They go, how many Christians go, there's free will, but it's also all God's will. I'm like, what do you mean?
Hannah Hodgkin sent $9.99 more cents to say, Chris, you have a very narrow and privileged point of view. A God who allows children to suffer and die and have tumors grow all over their head, that's an evil, sick monster that you base your life on. It is rough.
He's not a tumor.
God damn, Hannah Hodgkin's in here flexing on all of us, sending another $4.99. Hashtag be better than Jesus. Kawuha.
Jesus Christ.
Christ. I was trying to put that together. I was like, that's a translation or a typo, but like, what's...
Quist.
Well, that's where it ended. The not so almighty and not so hippie guy. The spacing threw me off. I don't understand. I don't know what you want from me.
I know reading can be hard sometimes.
I'm very dumb. A $9.99 from Answers in Genetics Anthropology, with is that fucking Piltdown Man on the thing? What's going on with that skull?
I don't know science.
Forrest, I've been making some bioanthro content. I'm wanting to expand to young Earth creationists debunking as well. Do you have any advice for staying mentally sane while watching and reacting to creationist content? Legitimately, just never stop laughing. Just keep yourself lighthearted and try not to dig into the seriousness of the mission. This is not just correcting silly people. This is actually saving the world because people believe this shit and then they don't believe in climate change and shit. But try not to get bogged down on that. Try to keep, if you make yourself laugh, you can't cry. That's my advice. 5 monarchy bucks from Mystic Mind Analysis. The tavern is gone. Used to be Mystic Mind Analysis Tavern. Now they've sold their tavern and they're giving us the money from it, £5 at a time. I got tired of the two-party state system. Strong arming. I've never heard that word together like that. Strong arming people into two bad choices where the liberals chase the tail of the right. So I'm ANCOM. I like that.
Based. I've been flirting with anarcho-syndicalism lately, so that's sort of where I'm slowly moving. I'm a council communist right now, but I've been flirting with becoming an anarcho-syndicalist.
And that's going to be more like organized small pockets of people fighting for individual rights one piece at a time, right?
Yeah, they're very similar from what the base level research that I've done. There's just very slight differences that make me want to move from one to the other.
See, each of these, I'm a biologist. These little distinctions about economic theory, social theory, political theory, all these things that it's what?
No one's. Yo, shout out to chat. People are gonna get that joke. It's all that matters.
I don't want to know what fantasies you just put in people's heads. But these distinctions are why I usually just say I'm either a social anarchist or an anarcho-socialist or words like that people can kind of wrap their heads around to move forward with, because I base my whole shit. The fundamental idea of social anarchism is that liberty and equality are inextricably linked. And so if we're not all equal, then we're not all free. That kind of thing. And I like that vibe a lot. Like I say, I based it a lot. My first master's was in anthropology. And so studying the development of human civilization and where humans came from and how society became a thing. I can't vibe with any kind of capitalism or fascism. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And Marxist theory definitely shapes my view of how we've gotten to this point. It has always been a story of the oppressor and the oppressed. It has never been a story of universal flourishing. And I want to get there, y'all. $5 from the Pale Horse 2. Communism will win. It's an inevitable answer to the contradictions of capitalism that cannot be reconciled through private industry. I mean, if we live long enough.
We hope. The problem becomes the capitalist strong arm. Capitalists will just infuse more money and exfuse more labor. There's a book I read. I'll have to try to remember the name of it, but it talks about how unfortunately capitalism has grown to the point that they can sort of skirt around the things that should be ending it, like hyperinflation, the cost of living rising. Capitalists are able to fund their way out of these things, and they didn't used to be able to. That's why we haven't seen a Great Depression since the Great Depression. So it's getting a little scurry.
Is 50 fucking fake alleged Canadian dollars from Alarsus. I keep trying to think, like when I read these names, I'm like, surely it's not as simple as it looks. And then it usually is. My Whirl Hurl just arrived, and I love it. It's so colorful. Thanks, Forrest. You're quite the artist. Thank you very much. I didn't make that shirt, but I did make the design upon which it was based. So I guess that's what you're complimenting. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
Just take the compliment.
I can't. I have a hard time.
I can. Go! So chat. If you want to hype me up, feel free.
Next one. And then they said something else. There it is. $5 from Totodile Dragon. Forrest, a while back you invented diarrhea martini for an argument that was an organized mess. I'd like to suggest diarrhea daiquiri. It's not bad. Yeah, diarrhea martini is what I call transphobia because it was the blending of homophobia and sexism into the diarrhea martini that is transphobia. Yeah, diarrhea and a daiquiri definitely does bounce off the tongue better.
Real.
$5 theoretical dollars from Mrs. Crocodile.
Oh, I answered this question to them in chat.
Oh. Well.
You can still read it.
What's Kami? Well, what do you think they wanted?
Kami was a dog I only had for like 2 days because it did not get along with my cats like at all. So I had to take him back. He's with a lovely family right now. Adopted like almost immediately. Miss that dog. Bless up.
Bless up. $5 your monkey a typewriter. I think the communism socialism conversation is largely verbiage around areas of shared value. With that in mind, Jovan, would you dissect a kid?
How ugly is the kid?
Are you asking, is that, so typically, depending on what you're dissecting, typically in cadaveric dissection, the face is covered at least most of the time, if not the entire time.
Because I'm not going to dissect an ugly kid. They have it hard enough already.
Well, they'd be dead when you're dissecting them. You're not vivisecting them.
Oh, they're dead.
Well, yeah, you're dissecting. Yeah.
I don't know. What am I getting in return?
Knowledge from dissecting somebody.
Maybe I'm too autistic for this bit. What knowledge from the dissection do we not already have?
Do you not already have you ever dissected a person?
I feel like I don't need to dissect a person to understand what's all inside. I'm going to say no.
I
don't think I dissect a person.
First of all,
I would, however, and I stand 10 toes down on this. If it was safe and ethical, I would eat it. I would eat human, 100%.
Oh, me too. Yeah, without a doubt. Yes, but the question about dissection is from. So my second master's was in biomedical sciences, and my background, I did a lot of biomed and stuff while studying evolution. In my undergrad, I've dissected a lot of people. I've cut up a lot of humans, and there's an inside joke on the channel about me dissecting children now for totally illegitimate reasons. And so that's now what this person is asking is, yeah, if they were fried properly.
Like baby would objectively taste better than adult.
Veal and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Forrest, you did actually tell him that he needs to dissect his child.
Jovan doesn't need to know any part of what's going on. I gave him all the context he needed. Is what happened.
I feel like I was not given enough context, and I cannot answer this question adequately.
So what happened was we had a Patreon exclusive live stream, a little AMA that I was the boy in. I was the guy that was being asked things.
You were the M.
Yeah, and the monkey at typewriter asked me a question, something along the lines of, I'm an atheist and my spouse is a theist, and how do we raise a child, and blah blah blah. And the legend that I have no memory of this. Apparently, my answer was dissect the boy.
Definitely
just dissect and figure out what's going on in there. And so now, for years, I have not been able to live it down, and people have been saying that I dissect children, which is a half truth. And so that's where we're at now. Is like, would you dissect a kid? Because I fucking would. I've dissected plenty of people, and child cadavers are very rare because when children die, generally the people don't want them dissected. Their parents are stingy and selfish and don't want us to stop the children.
I don't think I dissect anybody. I'm really squeamish. Like, like not with like I can do like medical dramas and they're fine. I can watch like the worst of the worst videos on the internet and be chill. But the minute I see something in real life, I'm like,
To the person in chat who said, "Can't wait to see Forrest versus 20 children on Jubilee." Give me a scalpel. $10 from the atheist mechanic. That is a ball python. I thought that was a body in a bag. Look at the curvature of it. It looks like we're talking about this. Love that comment, Forrest. If you scratch the surface of capitalism, it's basically gilded shit. And given the current administration, it is certainly on brand. A shiny, polished turd. That's what capitalism be, my boy.
I don't know that I call the current administration shiny or polished. It's more like it's more like the turd a dung beetle's been pushing around for like less than half a day.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them do that though? They're great
dung beetles. Yeah,
they're awesome. $5.17. What a strange, arbitrary number from Jesse Clark. Forrest, could you please explain again how life is just a natural result of the chemicals involved? Sounds fascinating. When did I say that? It is. I would say that, but I don't think I said that in this stream. Maybe you're referencing another stream. I don't know. Yes. So take, for example, proteins. Proteins are made of amino acids, and all amino acids are they look like this. You got a central carbon. You got a hydrogen up here. On this side, you've got NH3. Ignore where the positions of these letters are. Oh my god!
I was going to say that was
and
not
over here.
3.
No, and over here you've got a carboxylic acid, which is going to be carbon double bonded to oxygen with hydroxide on this side. So yes, that's going to be. I forgot it's COOH, like that is how you write it out. I had to remember it, so I had to draw out the fucking the active group. It doesn't matter. And then down here you have a side chain, which you write as an R. R just means generic carbon, bitch. And so like this side chain of each of these amino acids is different. Anything can go here and it makes a new kind of amino acid. When you have a long string of amino acids, this business here is what creates the inevitable shape of the protein, because this is the primary structure of the protein. So the primary structure is just the beads on a string, amino acid, chain to amino acid, chain to amino acid, chain to amino acid, just like that, through dehydration synthesis, right? And then you've got the secondary chain, which is either a beta pleated sheet or an alpha helix. And then you get a tertiary structure, which is actually like the folded nonsense of the protein. And then sometimes you have a quaternary structure, which is several of those folded nonsense pieces stuck together. Hemoglobin is a great example of that. The folded nonsense, that tertiary structure, what makes the protein have the shape that it has, and the shape of a protein is what gives it the function that it has, is those side chains, because they form chemical bonds. They form bonds the same way that any other molecules form bonds with other molecules. So through just the basic laws of what we call intermolecular forces, hydrogen bonding and what is it? This the name for fucking London dispersion forces and like all these polar dipole reactions, all these basic concepts in chemical intermolecular forces. That's what creates the shape of the protein, which then creates the function of the protein. So like the existence of these chemicals, the shape of them, natural, normal, predictable chemical and physical laws then make them do all of the amazing fucking things that they do in your body. And what's crazy cool about that is you need 20 amino acids to make life on Earth. Bitches, we've found over 500 of them in nature. We've found over 20 of them in space. They self-assemble all the time. It is a natural state for these fucking things to be. And they just obey the same laws of nature as everything else. That's one example of what I'm talking about when I say that life is the natural result of the chemicals involved. Proteins forming makes total fucking logical sense, and proteins behaving makes total fucking logical sense. So, yeah.
Nobody fucking asked me if I understood any of that. Swear to God. Just zoom. Not because Forrest is bad at explaining it, but because me and science have never been friends like that.
By the by, carbon, hydrogen, that's an A. Carbon, hydrogen, side chain. You want to know why they're called amino acids? It's because you have an amine group on here at NH3. That's a bad 3 again. My hands sometimes write things that I didn't ask them to write. I don't know if anybody else gets that. And then over here, this is carboxylic acid. So it's an amino acid. That's why that's that way. And not a lot of people think about that. And then what happens is the way these chain together.
Say most people probably don't think about that, yeah.
They're missing out. What you got over here, remember I said that the chain together is dehydration synthesis? Well, that's because over here you have an OH. That says one hydrogen, one oxygen. And over here, you have a bunch of H's. And so what happens is one of these H's and one of this OH come together and you get pop off H2O, water. Pops out of there, and that links two amino acids together. That's what we call it dehydration synthesis, because you dehydrate it, you pull a hydrogen out, and that synthesizes a peptide. It makes the peptide bond that forms this protein chain. And then to break down a protein, what do? You take that water and you shove it in here. That's called hydrolysis. Hydro, water, lyse means to break apart. Hydrolysis breaks that peptide bond, separates amino acids, breaks down proteins. If you just look at the fucking shape of the thing,
of the cell, yes.
What I'm saying is, if you just look at the shape of the fucking thing, you know what it's going to do, and you can learn the vocabulary. It's logic. That's the best thing about science, is it makes sense, and it all works together. And then you turn over another rock, and you learn some new crazy thing that surprises the shit out of you. And then you learn the logic of biology. It's beautiful. I fucking love my job, dude.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared. All right.
Hey, Bayo, Pythagoras, my boy. Love him. $5 from Stomp 10. Jovan. How would you respond to conservative black men who claim LGBTQ is a psyop to feminize the black man's image? Great stream, by the way. I have an answer to this too, even though I am white as the pure-driven snow.
Yeah, I would just say that those black men want to be white. They want to be as close to white supremacy as they possibly can. They want to be as close to whiteness. Queerness in the black community was demolished during colonialization. I mean, there are so many examples of tribes in Africa who had such larger expanses on gender. And then when colonialization came in, they got kicked into with like a Western ideal of gender brought forth by the Abrahamic religions and stuff like that. When those people wanted to receive preferential treatment from the white colonizers, they would vie into the white man, for lack of a better term, idea of gender and the two gender binary that was that's been prevalent in Western society. So when black men say these things to me, it just, I'm just sort of like, you are just simping for colonialization, homie. So that's usually how I respond to them.
I certainly wouldn't, because of who I am, I wouldn't say to anybody you're trying to be white or anything like that. However, the rest of that I 100% would say, because there's I referenced before, this is male daughters, female husbands, gender and sex in African society. And it's like talking about concepts of gender that existed in Africa that predate colonialism and colonization. And they didn't have the fucking words for the labels that we put in today, because these weren't even concepts. Gender and sexuality throughout history and through cross cultures have far more often been associated with socioeconomic status and power than they ever have with sex or who you fucking. And so or I should say who you want to fuck. But the point is, these are vastly different concepts and vastly different cultures. And yes, absolutely. The reason why a conservative might scoff hearing somebody like me say that homophobia is always fundamentally rooted in white supremacy. And they're like, oh, these are just liberal buzzwords. No. It's that you had this Western colonial Christian mindset of, no, there's only two genders, and boys like girls and girls like boys, and there's the only way to do it, and everything else is aberrant and sinful and evil and all stuff. And that narrative was beaten into people all around the world through forced conversion, through torture, through all these slaughtering millions of people if they didn't accept this ideology. And now you're going to look at this ideology and say, well, this is the natural state of things. No, it fucking isn't. And if you're going to say, well, this is the natural state of things and be not a fucking person who is at least as white as me, then it makes even less goddamn sense, because the only reason we act like it's the natural state of things is because we're so fucking full of ourselves that we think we own the world. So just like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's rough. It's real rough hearing that. Especially hearing people of color, talk about or like really push Christianity and shit as well. It's like, this is the thing that was used to enslave you, used to torture you, used to commit genocide against you. And here you are bogged down in it. And that's not my argument to make. It's not my place, but holy fuck, it hurts, man. It really fucking sucks. Sorry, I'll go on that rant for a long time.
No, listen. You preach to the choir.
Also, while we're here, while we're here, by the way, one thing that I am qualified to speak about, both racially and also like education wise, is that fucking the concept of whiteness is also like a stupid. The idea that whiteness is a thing is also a white supremacist concept. There is no concept of whiteness without the concept of white supremacy, because white is the only race that we define by purity. Barack Obama wasn't another white president. He wasn't our first biracial president. We just call him the first black president because he was half black. He was as white as he is black. Why don't we call him white? Because if you have a little bit of black in you, you're just black. Whiteness is the only thing that we fucking define by being absent of everything else. It is inherently, therefore, a supremacist mindset that sets itself apart from everything else and considers itself pure and special. So, like, even bringing that up, if you're saying, like, oh, I want to be like these guys, you are buying into the bullshit. I'm going to lose my fucking mind about it. I'll flip so many tables, just like Jesus. So now I'll shut the fuck up. Sorry, I get hyphy about anthropology. $10 from the atheist mechanic. It is better to believe in a comfortable lie. Is it better to believe in a comfortable lie or embrace uncomfortable truth? Uncomfortable truth all day long.
I might hit you at a Dwight from The Office and stay in the Matrix because it's so great. Like if I had my own Matrix and they were like, listen, bro, because what this is going to be a weird. I've never watched past the first 40 minutes of the first Matrix. So if they address this in the movie, great. Us and our experiences and what we are experiencing is totally subjective. So if I was in a tank for my entire life, but I experienced a world inside of that tank crafted by somebody else, and that world that's crafted is better, what's the difference? I'm still experiencing and having all of those experiences because all of those experiences are just subjective to the mind anyway. So, like, if they're like, you can be in the Matrix and be a superhero, like, you could be Spider-Man. I'm going to the Matrix, bro. Like, what do I care?
I also have never seen the Matrix, but what you just described is more or less the point of Saints Row 4 and the video game. So it's just that you live in the Matrix and now you have superpowers. Yeah. So, like,
but that's what I'm saying. Like,
the end of the day,
like it leads us into that weird existential thing where it's like we could be in a Matrix, right? Like if you were to tell me that your life was a Matrix, right? If somebody said to you right now, Forrest, your life is a Matrix, would you want to wake up?
I would be.
I'd probably say no.
Yeah, I'd want to know what's on the other side, though.
No, I'd probably say no. I'd be like, well, no, I like what I'm doing here. I like my friends. I like my family. I like why do I don't need to, like, I mean, as long, like, even if, like, I don't know, I'll just be like, no, like, what?
I at least want the choice. I want to know what I want the informed consent. I want to know what I'm missing out on.
Sure. Like I want to wake up, see what it is. If you woke up in a Matrix tank, I would be like, put me back. And then you looked and saw that all humans were batteries. I'd be like, nah, put me back. Just put me back, bro.
In all fairness, though, that would explain, if this was like a magically crafted world to kind of suit my fancies and, like, make me happy. That would make a lot of sense, because I am the luckiest son of a bitch. And the only reason the only way you can logically explain my wife is to say that she is a construct made just to appease me. Nobody's that perfect. So like it would make sense. It would make sense. $5 from Mr.
Never mind. Continue.
$5 from Mr. Boricchio 10. Not able to participate much. Currently in ER triage for potential vascular neurological issues, and you're fucking sending us money? Jesus Christ, save that for your inevitable fees.
Yeah, I kind of
hope everything will be fine. Hope everything is well. Yeah, fucking you be well. Goddamn. I hope you're okay. I can't wait for you to send us $5 more next week and tell us you're okay. $10 from Gemnico6. Hi, Mr. Haxor. Jovan's Circle of Life defense was brilliant. Sadly, Google has blocked me from making more donos by that point. Plus, I already donated over $3,000. Misty Nipples for the win. Team Zerba. Very nice.
It was goated. It was goated. I don't know why there was any competition. It's the Circle of Life defense, guys. It's all you need.
$5 from Nullifidian Network. What does that mean? You seem pretty smart in high school. Did you take any AP-ness by any point? Chance.
Did you take AP-ness?
I didn't even see there isn't an any. Yeah, AP-ness.
Yeah. Did nice. You take AP-ness?
Yeah.
God,
that is good. That is good.
I will always love a D's nuts adjacent joke every time.
They're so good. They're so good. $5 from Nullifidian Network at Forrest. Did you ever consider doing a 20 versus 1 on Jubilee? If you did, what would the topic be? So like the necessary caveat here is like fuck those guys because they fucking platform like Charlie Kirk and shit and like all these fucking evil ass people just to get views.
They also lean right. Like watch the way they make thumbnails about their conservative hosts and their conservative main people versus their left-leaning main people, and then they just never like Jubilee sucks.
Yeah, but if I ever did such a thing, I would love to do like 20 Christians versus 1 atheist, or 20 creationists versus 1 biologist would be a lot of fun as well.
Are they doing that one? I look at their casting notice sometimes just to see what upcoming nonsense they're doing.
If they're doing 20 creators with 1 biologist and they haven't called me so that I can tell them no, I'm going to be furious. Because I'm not going to lie to you. It would be real tempting to make a moral exception and be like, well, I really don't like this channel, and I know I said fuck those guys, but like at the end of the day, I could do more good if I was on it. You know what I mean? I want to do those mental gymnastics a little bit. I want to explore that. $5 from Braxton. You should do a Zerba Valkai Lab shirt. I don't know if I can. Considering like that's line merch now. I don't want to be sued by Jimmy Snow. $4.99 from Miggy. Forrest and Jovan needs to happen all the time, every week. Jovan, I finally got the Miggy joke from Office Hours. Now forever embarrassed.
Me and Arden were doing. So Office Hours is when I take, when I'm like, you can call in if it's not a debate. Typically, I'd say don't call in unless you're like an op. And when Miggy called in, I was like, oh, what's your name? They said Miggy, and I was like, don't call me that. I'm black. And they didn't get the joke today, apparently.
$20 from Greenman Dave. Hi, dudes. I'm loving my new Zerba shirt, Forrest. See you in Sarnia with Pfeffernuss. Hell yeah. Jovan, you're the Bradleyest of the Jovans. Hell yeah. Sarnia is going to be great. I actually have to get to work on that speech. $5 from the Space Barbarian. Any thoughts on adhocracy?
Adhocracy. I mean, adhocracy is like very. It's basically saying like, how can we set up? It's almost like council communism minus bureaucracy. It's like anti-bureaucracy. I don't know. I haven't researched it enough, but it's so similar in my opinion from what I have seen to council communism that I'm just like, I don't really understand the need for the distinction. But yeah, less bureaucracy is probably not a bad thing.
Interesting. I learned a word. I'm very happy about that. Ooh, beep boop. Bop, beep bop. We've got $5 from Jamie. Worker-focused leftism ignores disabled and care labor. Revolution can't be just for the able-bodied people. I agree.
I would disagree that worker-focused leftism ignores disabled people, at least if they're coming at it from a strict Marxist level, because the whole thing under Marxism is to each according to their needs, from each according to their ability. So it's written into the system that like disabled people are taken care of, right? Like if you don't have the ability to do certain work, we don't force you to do that work in order to survive. I'm sure there are leftists who definitely ignore like the disabled, but I think like at least pure leftism from a Marxist standpoint, it's taken into account.
That's a really, really good point. Yeah, no, I agree with the second sentence there. The first sentence, I guess, now the more I think about it, like, there is protections built in the system. Again, biologist, not a philosopher or a political theorist. $5 from Draven Dresden. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and has been widely regarded as a bad move. Nice.
Good reference. We love that.
£5 from Puss Goblin, Virginia. From my perspective, if Jesus would have died before the Jews killed the foreign nations, the children and the rest wouldn't have been killed. What? If Jesus would have died before the Jews killed the foreign nations, the children and the rest wouldn't have been killed. What are you talking about? What are we saying?
If
here?
Jesus had died before the Israelites killed the Canaanites,
is that what we're talking about? Mean?
Yeah, I mean that's the only foreign nation I can think about. But didn't that happen before Jesus was born?
Also, the fact is, like, if that is what we're talking about, God also commanded the children be killed, so it wouldn't have mattered if Jesus was or wasn't there to influence
are you
people.
saying if Jesus had died, God wouldn't have commanded that to happen because Jesus would have absolved the Canaanites and all of those people of their sins? I think that's what they're saying. Because the reason God wanted to kill. Well, the reason I kind of, because at least in like the lore and like Bible lore, right? If we're going based off of what like J.R.R. Tolkien wrote in the Bible, God wanted to kill the Canaanites because of the massive amount of sin they were committing, right? That was they were sinning so much that he regretted making people, and so he told but if Jesus absolves of our sin, right, then there would be no reason to kill these people. Because he hasn't killed a debaucherous nation since.
Right, I can vibe with that. Yeah. $5 from SJL. If we could have a system where capitalists didn't control the government, that would be nice. First step. Yeah, like I said, when we have this thing in America in biology, we just call it corruption. Where you can just buy a politician, you can just buy a bill. So yeah, if we could definitely, that kind of
thought
shit.
is that any state. So there's a difference between state and government. So like when we talk about the state, we're talking about like a country. So the thought process kind of from at least my understanding of Marxism and leftism is that any state will always devolve into capitalism because of that. Whereas the governance needs to be from the people themselves. But so yeah, I mean I mean the less capitalism the better, but I think the way we get that right now is we focus on nationalizing major industries, like housing, food, water. All those things need to be nationalized right now.
Yeah. $4.99 from Falcon Storm. Fascist down, anarchists up, and the way I like to govern. Sorry, it's just where my mind went. Fash down, anarch up. Ignoring the vibes of the thing, was it not Henry David Thoreau who said, I agree with the statement that government is best which governs least. However, I would also say that government is best which governs not at all. When you talk about that's the way I like to govern.
I can't tell if Forrest understands the reference.
It sounds like face down, ass up. That's the way I like to fuck, or something like that.
I couldn't tell it. I couldn't tell at first, so I was confused.
Yeah, no, I'm very serious about everything. I've never smiled once. 50 fucking Canadian dollars from Ayla Ursus for Jovan. I love how well you explain things, and your cat ears. You can't see his ears. They're covered. You don't know if he has cat ears.
I think that's them saying that the $50 is for me. So, I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Just, they're Canadian dollars, so they're not going to be useful for you at all. 5 more Canadian dollars.
True.
From Untitled Final V2 this version. Diglett is okay. Doug Trio is pretty OP. I just don't like the vibe of Doug Trio. Diglett's just awesome.
Why do y'all put ground types on your team? Ground types suck.
Have you ever seen a Diglett? No, you haven't.
Yeah, it looks like somebody's putting their peen through the hole in the ground.
They're adorable. And they have Dig, which is great. And they have Earthquake. They can do Earthquake. 5 pounds from the Fuzzy Logic. Hi, Forrest. Hi, Jovan. You guys are great hosting together. Thank you very much. Any chance attempt to break Forrest's stream length record next time? We could do it.
What's your record?
I think 8.5 hours.
Of like a consistent stream of you on it all time?
Was 8.5.
On SkepTalk. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it was 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
My record is like 6 months. I did like a 6-month subathon at the start of this year. Not this year, last year. It was hell.
Just never turned the camera off.
Yeah, well, there were some instances where I just had to because my computer would have blown up. But a 9-hour stream, sure, let's do it. Fuck it.
Sitting in this bitch of a chair, focused right here, not moving. That's if we do it for 8.5 hours. It was me and Erica taking biology questions. So yeah, man. Especially we can get transphobe colors.
I'll be all communism. Oh, I'll do transphobes too. Fuck it. I think we would be pretty goated as the transphobe team. I've converted art into a couple of my arguments, so I'm slowly gonna infect the line with my trans arguments.
It is a social contagion, after all. 5 Canadian dollars from Unentitled Final V2 this version. How do you respond to people who put a Blastoise in their Elite Four lineup and leave out Venusaur? I congratulate.
They're both crazy. They're both crazy. Charizard all day. He's a literal fire dragon. It does not get better than that.
He's also a little.
And I know he was not a dragon type in Gen 1, but he's still a motherfucking dragon. I don't care what you say.
Oh man. No, there are better fire types out there. $5 from Zoran, not going to pronounce it. Just showing some love for my favorite science and political commentators, Forrest and Jovan. Thank you so much.
Please tell me it's Kukovic.
5 pounds. Hi, Mr. Jamnick06. Everybody's just saying hi. Everybody's just saying hi. Well, is that the end of it? Oh, shit. David Thomas just sent $10 more. Say still cracking up when Forrest said random carbon bitch. Love the stream. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you. Hey, before we go, now actually it is the end of the show. Before we go, quick thing, just in case anybody is still aware, or isn't aware or wants to know more about it. There is an Israeli newspaper called Haaretz that recently published an article where Israeli soldiers talked about how they are given orders to kill civilians who are waiting in the line for food aid. They just did another massacre where people were waiting in line to get food and they just start firing into the crowd. These are direct quotes from Israeli soldiers from that article. We open fire early in the morning if someone tries to get in line. Sometimes we just charge at them from close range. Here's another quote. I'm not aware of a single instance of return fire. There is no enemy. There are no weapons. Here's another quote. But it's obvious if they can't leave in the moment and get up and run, we open fire. Here's another quote. There are areas where Palestinians are allowed to be. We're the ones who decided to move in closer and decided they endangered us. So they're allowed to be there. We moved in and said they endangered us. There are no weapons. Can't think of a single return fire incident. Here's another one. So for a contractor to make another $1,500 and take down a house, it's deemed acceptable to kill people who are only looking for food. They wrote down the words. This is the direct quote. These people are only looking for food. They are not armed. It's acceptable to kill them so a contractor can make money tearing down their house. Here's another quote. When we asked why they opened fire, we were told it was an order from above and that the civilians had posed a threat to the troops. Remember that? Because there's the other one where they said, we move in and say that they threatened us. And the other one that said, can't think of any weapons. Here's another quote. I can say with certainty that the people were not close to the forces and did not endanger them. Again, these are Israeli soldiers in an Israeli newspaper. This is the last quote. This thing called killing innocent people, it's been normalized. Those are the words. Obviously, the translation's a bit rough, but this thing called killing innocent people, it's been normalized. These are what we're talking about now, shooting people who are waiting in line for food because they are being starved to death. So, I bring all that up because I know life fucking sucks here in America right now. I know we're all scared. I know shit's really freaky right now. We have a fucking fascist lunatic asshole in power, and his cultists, followers are checking off every single box of Project 2025. It's a scary time, and I get it. All eyes on Gaza, y'all. Keep talking about it. Keep pushing for it, because especially now, we're fucking bombing Iran, and we're talking about that, and we should be talking about that. But please don't fucking get distracted. There is still a genocide going on. 2 million people need your voice because they don't have one of their own anymore.
And Jesus Christ, fuck Benny Netanyahu so hard, bro. Fuck Netanyahu, fuck the IDF, free Palestine.
Yes. I just want to make sure that I don't leave this show without bringing that shit up, because I saw that article on Middle East Eye. They kind of talked about that article that came out in Haaretz, and boy, it was rough to read. So I just wanted to bring it up here while I had the chance, and we'll have some stuff. So with that, now it actually is the end of the show. Jovan, Bradley, do you have anything to wrap up with?
Catch me this weekend if you're in Chicago at the Socialism Conference. I'll be walking around doing press stuff. So if you see me around at the Socialism Conference, say what's up.
Sweet chicken. If you're around, I'll be on this show on Sunday. I'll be doing the Sunday show after dark. I'm going to be on Durante Lamar's podcast as well that day. Check me out next week, the Freedom from Religion Ozarks chapter. I'll be in Arkansas for that. The week after that, I'll be in Cincinnati for the Secular Student Alliance summer get-together, whatever thing. And then later on down the line, I'll be doing other things. Go to ValkaiLabs.com, learn about that. Really quick before we go, thank you to our call screener. I believe it's Stephanie Helms. Thank you to Amargan, our producer. Thank you to Faye Halo for doing the timestamps. Thank you to our mods in chat. Thank you to all of our callers, even the ones that suck. Thank you to all of our people in the chat, even the ones that suck. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day, and never stop learning. Bye-bye.